Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? How the heck are we doing? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How we doing? We living life? Feeling good? Just got off work? Great timing. What up? Not much, my friend. Not much, my friend. I'm glad to have you. We are going to have a good old school style stream. We're gonna touch on a couple little things that have happened in the news, but then we're just gonna play some games. And so if that sounds awesome, great. If not, bummer. But we're gonna try to get some gameplay in Shadow of War, which came out at this point going on 6 years ago. So it's been a minute. And there's a lot to go through. There's a lot of changes, a lot of stuff that they've shifted. So it's going to be very interesting, I think. So we will do that. Why isn't this? That should be working. I also got new glasses, and these things are definitely a much stronger prescription than my last ones. I'll tell you what, like my peripheral view is nowhere near as good as with the other glasses, but I think it's because these are actually like doing something. So I feel like straight ahead, looking straight at something like my screens, it's sharp, but when I like try to look at the screen and then peripheral view is just super blurry. Or if I try to look like off angle, off center through the glasses at this screen like this, super blurry, can't see anything. I don't know if that's supposed to be what's happening, but it's happening. So that's what we're dealing with. Let me get chat put on screen for all the lovely people who might be watching the VOD after the fact. Let's do that. Paste. Voila. Voila. Did you hear about the Xbox Venmo thing? Yeah, aren't they accepting Venmo payments for Xbox stuff now? It's like a partnership with PayPal. Maybe for some people that makes a big deal. I don't understand why that's a big deal, frankly. If somebody could explain why it's a big deal, let me know. My understanding is like, why not just add a debit card? Most people have like a debit card hooked up to Venmo, and then they use Venmo to pay things peer to peer. But I don't know why paying for like an Xbox game or an Xbox console with Venmo is easier than just paying with your debit card. Am I missing? I've got to be missing something, because I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but maybe I'm just missing something. Vida and Fightin' Cowboy really loved Armored Core's preview. Skill up sentiments echoed some of your concerns. We'll look at it. I mean, from the little tidbits I've seen in like still shots and wallpapers, I haven't watched the video, so we'll look at it here in a second. My sentiment is just I'm not a mech fan, but it's because I haven't really played them and I've never had interest in playing them. However, what interests me in Armored Core is that it's coming from FromSoftware, a phenomenal world-class team. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to try it. Now, if that doesn't sound like that outrageous of an opinion, I think you're normal. But dear God Almighty, if I say that in a video, the Armored Core try-hard, like, I don't know, micro penis having crew descends like locusts in the book of Exodus. It's insane. Like, they come down and they're like, oh lol, you haven't even played the game yet. I said I would. Are you high? Like, what's happening right now? It's insane. I don't like, maybe they do realize that that's what they're doing, but what the consequence of that is it just makes it so I'm like, okay, so I just won't give extra coverage to this game. If you want this game to be big in the West, you have to get Western YouTubers and creators covering the game and promoting it. And we're not going to do that if the community that's at the core is so freaking toxic. Which is just such a bummer that it is, but it makes it so like I don't want to bother with it. Like, I'm fine if you come in and like leave weird comments and stuff. Like, it's all engagement. It technically helps the video. So I'm good. I'm happy. But it's a headache. And I don't know if I want to deal with that headache when there's other videos I can make, you know? It's crazy how they want to drive people away, basically. Either they know they're doing that, or they are so freaking insufferable that they don't realize that's what they're doing. which is almost worse. Crisco, by the way, thank you for becoming a member. That's tremendous. Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel reportedly canceled. That was a little heartbreaking, especially for Jor, because Jor Raptor has been talking up that for a while. He's been really looking forward to it. And apparently it's just not a thing. I mean, basically, for those of you that might have missed it, it's this right here. Immortals. So, yeah, according to multiple development sources who told VGC anonymously that a follow-up game was in early development at Ubisoft Quebec. This is for Immortals Phoenix Rising, but the company leadership ultimately decided to cancel it earlier this month due to perceived challenges around establishing the IP, which makes sense. I mean, if you're going to spend like $100 million on a game and you're not sure if you can make it like a mainstay of the industry and turn it into a big franchise, I get it. However, it's a bit of a bummer because we were all really looking forward to it, that played the original. However, there's a bunch of questions like this guy. So if the game was still early, Scott Phillips, what has he been working on the last 3 years? Because I don't think it's Assassin's Creed Red. That's a good question. Because you guys know there's some other big Ubisoft game coming in basically January through March of next year that they have talked about, but they haven't said what it is. Some people are like, oh, it might be Star Wars Outlaws. Some people have said, oh, it was this Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel. Apparently that just got canceled. So nobody knows what that game is. There's a lot of mystery actually right now at Ubisoft. It's a little weird because normally we just know everything, but yeah, there's a lot of mystery there. And it's just, you know, it's a bummer because I thought Immortals Phoenix Rising was a solid game that wore its inspiration on its sleeves, but I thought it offered something actually relatively unique. And I would have loved to see what a sequel could have done, but apparently they're just deciding, we just can't get it pulled together. It's a bummer though. If you have like a Switch or a handheld console and you want to go and just have something goofy and silly to play that sort of takes a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild, check it out. It honestly is a pretty good time, and I'm sure you could get it on a heavy discount, I would assume. Luke, do you think the new Diablo is worth it? I've had my eye on it for a while, but don't know if I should buy it or not. At this point, right now, today, probably not. A month ago, yeah, try it. Right now, everybody who knows details about the game and really understands it says it's in the worst spot it's ever been. And yeah, it's pretty young as a game. It's like a month and a half old or whatever, but that's just the reality of that season 1 patch. Apparently they screwed it up pretty bad. Mr. K, that's what happens when 80% of passive interaction with other humans is online. It's not a FromSoft thing. It's an I act in ways online that I get slapped for if I acted that way in person. Yeah, well, and I don't know what it is about certain games and certain communities that attract more of those types of people. But certain groups are more toxic than others, without a doubt. I've said before, like the... Oh, crap, what's it called? Hold on. It's that World War II game. Crap, what's that called? It's like pretty realistic. Hell Let Loose? Is that it? Yeah, that is it. Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose, that community, freaking amazing. So supportive, so lovey-dovey. They're so happy to just have anybody checking out the game. You can pop into a random match and you will have somebody else join who's played the game for like 3-4 years. And they'll join your little, whatever the squad, I guess, but whatever's underneath a squad. And they will give you like step-by-step guides. Like the guy I had join my party, he came in and was like, yeah, so if you want to pull up, you know, binoculars, you do this. Like he's all the way down to how to use the keyboard to get to certain things. Like it was amazing, but that welcomes you into the community and that makes you want to try it more. And then for other games like Armored Core, it's such a toxic group of people that it turns everybody away. It's gatekeeping, really. And I think maybe what it is psychologically, there's this weird group that has tied up a lot of their self-worth in the fact that they play hard video games and have gotten decently good at them. And so if that becomes popular, they're not as special anymore, so they have to gatekeep it. And we saw that with Elden Ring. I don't know if you guys remember the initial months or so of Elden Ring, but there were a lot of people being very toxic about Elden Ring when that started to pop off and get really, really popular. And it's, you know, all sorts of people saying, oh, if you use summons, then you're a scrub. You're not playing the game right. It's like, dude, the developers put this system in the game. Like, what are you talking about? The developers in their official gameplay showcases use summons. So clearly they thought that they were going to be integral to the overall gameplay loop that you'd be participating in. Like, just because you don't use them doesn't mean that everybody shouldn't. Like, I guess if you want to make the game more difficult on yourself, cool. I like those people that play games with one hand. More power to you. That's amazing. I'll compliment the shit out of you. But for you to then go and be like, oh, you play Tears of the Kingdom with both hands on the controller? What a loser. Like, you'd say, dry up, dude. No one gives a shit. Oh, God. Have you seen the Hell Let Loose trailer for U15? It's the worst trailer in history. It turned the community into a toxic festival. I have not seen that. Is it really that bad? It's just a terrible trailer. Hell Let Loose or update 15. Oh yeah, there's a lot here. The update 15 trailer for Hell Let Loose is so bad it will kick your dog. What a clickbait thing. That's I'm interested now. You've got me intrigued. Hold on, how bad could this possibly be? It's got 349,000 or 349 dislikes. This looks like something a fan made with Gary's mod. Certainly doesn't have much more of a budget than that. Let's see. How bad could this possibly be? Could it be that bad?
We're about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
I mean, the eyes are bugging out a little bit, but it's a multiplayer game. I don't think that that's that terrible. Plus, it's never been like a shockingly beautiful game. It's not Battlefield. You're playing it more for the systems, but so far, not terrible. We're only 25 seconds in, but not terrible. Okay. Oh no. Okay, that looked pretty bad. Oh, straight capture. Okay.
Keep moving! We've taken a German opening! Schnell und halten! Kein Sensor!
I mean, it looks probably fan-made. Because it looks like they're using a lot of footage just captured straight from regular gameplay. But I was expecting something way worse. Like, there were a couple shots that were not good at all. But honestly, that's not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting something way, way worse. I think it was like right back here. It's when he lands and then the camera pulls up. There was one shot where it was like, guys, yeah, this. Like, what are we doing? Is this a PS2 game trailer? Like, what are we doing? There's no foliage loaded in except for like the far off like little bits, but nothing in this field. Like this looks bad. But I mean, if the rest of like the showcase of what they're bringing to update 15 was bad, I can understand why people are pissed. But more than anything, it just looks fan made. It looks fan made. Frankly, for like a multi-million-dollar operation, it's probably not acceptable. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, I was expecting worse. That's bad, but not as bad as I was kind of hoping for. Have you seen the M1 Grand with the ammo outside of the gun? Oh, of course they did that. It's always been a little janky. So much shaky cam. That's how you make a good film. You guys remember the old like Born Identity and those films when they really popularized the shake cam? The whole movie is like somebody is just constantly, they've got their hands dipped in butter, and then they tried to hold a ball camera that's made out of glass, and they just kept slipping with it. It's the whole film. It's honestly a little jarring. On like smaller displays, it's not that bad. If you try to watch that thing on like a big projector, or I can only imagine what it must have been like in the movie theaters, it will make you nauseous. Like it's bad. Your brain is just like, I don't like this. This is bad. But it was done to try and make you feel like you were in the action, you were with them, because you're right there and it's shaking just like your head would technically shake. But it doesn't translate, at least not for me. It gets me like super sick. Well, it wasn't the only reason why the player base went from 18 down to 4 in 1 month. Yeah, it seems like there's probably compounding issues there. But all of this to say, Hell Let Loose's community, when I experienced it for the first time, was lovely and made me want to play more of that game. The community for Armored Core has actively turned me off. Like at this point, even if I love Armored Core, I'm considering not even promoting the game and doing videos on it just to screw with those people because they're so toxic. Ooh, thunder. We've got a thunderstorm outside, ladies and gents. I don't know if you can hear that, but ooh, that was spoopy. That was spoopy. Oh, really? I mean, I'm being a little bit dramatic. Like, honestly, if the game's really good, I'm going to promote it because I want the team to be promoted, and I want other people to try good games. And I would hope that those new players can outweigh the toxic ones. So I would still promote it. But the point is, I want to make fun incessantly of those tryhards because they're so annoying. It's just really funny. But, I mean, I guess we can look at this... Look at some of this gameplay footage. This first bit is from IGN. Let's see. Again, my stance has been, I'm not a mech fan. I just have never been into mech games, but that's because I've never really had a reason to try them and I've never been interested. But I am, for the first time, interested in this game. But I'm not assuming it's going to be the greatest game ever made because I just don't have any bias. I don't have a horse in the race. But I would love to get excited for this if they show some gameplay that like really blows me away. So let's see what they brought to the table with these previews.
We're close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is a game that marks several returns for FromSoftware. It's a return to the series that they built the majority of the foundation of their legacy off of. A return to a series that they've not touched since 2013. And a return to a genre that isn't anything remotely close to it.
And I have to say, 10 years after the last game they did in this franchise, I can understand why fans of this franchise are so pumped. I totally get it. Like 10 years after the fact, ooh, baby. It would be like me if I found out that Rockstar was making a Bully 2. Like that's the level of excitement and hype. So I totally understand why they're saying it. Please check out Iron Pineapple's gameplay if you can. It's very in-depth. I can do that, I think. Yeah. You can do that. Members only stream when you get it. Oh, yeah, that would actually be really cool. Yeah, I'd be down for that. This stream right now was almost a members only stream. And then at the last minute, I was like, I'll make it public. We'll say hi to everybody and we'll do like... My whole week is thrown off. I keep thinking it's Thursday, but maybe tomorrow we'll do a members only stream and just hang out for a bit. But yeah, Christian, thank you for 7 months. My goodness. My goodness.
Treble Champ super chatted $6.55. Hope you're good, Luke. Seems like no summer in UK rain. As for AC6, looks like a PS3 awkward mech game. If I'm honest, not convinced on the hype at all.
Oh, careful, Trouble. You'll get got if you talk like that in public. There's some. Oh, dude, let me just show you like this. Also, this one. Like I tweeted out because apparently this game is going to support 120 FPS, and like just look at this one person. Like I don't know if this was somebody trolling or being sarcastic, but they said, "Why would you care about the frame rate on a game you're quote unquote not sold on?" Like, there's no way somebody's this stupid, right? Like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, this is a good news for people who are interested in the game. Like, I'm allowed to be interested in that update. Even if I'm not currently hyped on the game. Like, yeah, I'm not super stoked on it yet. I would like to get there. But dumbasses like that make me want to just out of spite ignore the game and never think about it or talk about it. That's such a bummer. Anyway, I hope he's just a troll, and I'm guessing because there's no way anybody's that stupid. My guess is that's just somebody being sarcastic, but who knows?
I got to play through the entirety of the first chapter of AC6, and if initial impressions are anything to go off of, it's a return that's going to be triumphant.
You gotta be careful saying anything other than very positive. I'll tell you what.
Time to fly, 61.
My experience with Souls-likes is vast, but my time...
I mean, I just like going back to your comment, Trouble, where you were like, it looks like what did you say? It looks like an awkward or a PS3 awkward mech game. I'm sure it'll be fluid. It's gonna play really, really well. But it's like I said back in the day with with like Hogwarts Legacy and some of these other games. If you're really stoked on a game, that's awesome, and I'm excited for you to be excited. That's fantastic. Thank you, Fantasy Files, as well. I did get your email, by the way. I haven't gone through. I have like 10 emails I have to respond to, so I'm getting to it. Don't worry. But you can be excited for it, but when you ignore or deny what is clearly the case, you lose all credibility, right? It's the reason why I really admired that guy. I wonder if he's in my like little sub. Yeah, New World. This guy. We reacted to his Starfield video where he said that he actually thought that no vehicles and no rovers and stuff in the game was a good thing. And I was like, that's a weird take. I'll hear you out. And to his credit, he was willing to acknowledge some of the issues present with Starfield, some of the reasons why you could be concerned. And he just came to a different conclusion than I can. And I can totally respect it. What I don't respect is when people are just outright denying or ignoring reality to try and protect this precious thing that they care about for whatever reason. It's the same thing that like super crazy people in cults do. I'm not farting, that's a Red Bull. Where they like they're so far down the rabbit hole they can't admit any concerning stuff. Like if you're in Scientology and you don't want to acknowledge, hey, this whole thing's kind of crazy. Like, it's weird that you have to spend $500,000 to officially become like OT3 to find out what your religion actually teaches. That's a little messed up that it's gatekept with so much money, right? Like, can we accept that? Can we agree on that? And when you're in a cult, you can't acknowledge that because your blinders go on. You get stupid. Like, it turns you stupid. And even though they're really smart people, it puts the blinders on and they're conditioned to not recognize that stuff. And they just shut it down because doubt is not allowed. And, you know, it's true of even a lot of like crazy hardcore beliefs, whether it's politics or religion. If you can't doubt something, you're in trouble because you can't think critically. You won't find the truth that way. And in this case, if you cannot acknowledge that like these trees look like shit, I don't know how to help you. Okay. But the point is, Armored Core is not a game based on the fidelity of their trees. No one really cares. Like FromSoft has never had crazy high fidelity games. They've had games with phenomenal gameplay design. And that's what makes them stand out. However, when you deny something as simple as like the quality of the trees or the look of the trees, I don't take you seriously anymore. Even if you're making really good points with regard to the gameplay, because you ignored reality over here, I just can't take you seriously. So I think it's important that we be level-headed and honest about the whole game, not just looking at the parts that we think showcase our opinion better.
With the Armored Core series is admittedly limited. I've played the first couple of missions of For Answer, but very little beyond that. Still, given that lack of experience, one of the things that stuck out to me when I first started playing Armored Core 6 was how easy it was to pick up and play. Your 2 arm weapons are mapped to the left and right triggers, your 2 shoulder weapons are mapped...
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Huge thunder crack right outside the door or window. That's not a door, that's a window. That was crazy. That was loud.
Up to the bumpers, X jumps, square does a quick dodge, clicking in the right stick changes your targeting mode to lock on, and clicking in the left stick engages your assault boost that basically acts like a sprint. If you've played a third-person shooter before, Armored Core 6 should feel very familiar, albeit much heavier and more boosty. This is fortunate because,
Oh my god, he said boosty.
in typical FromSoft fashion, Armored Core 6 put my skills to the test right out of the gate. The first boss fight against an AH-12HC helicopter was a real sink-or-swim moment, one that demanded I use every tool at my disposal, from my rifle, to my energy sword, to my missiles, to my quick dodges, to my assault boost, and my ability to manage my energy output properly so I didn't find myself unable to dodge the boss's barrage of missiles.
One of the things I'm impressed with just looking at this gameplay is that they seem to have adapted like a wider field of view and then also a camera that adapts and pulls back a little more. Because one of my, like the biggest problems with Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro even had this problem, and Elden Ring had it too, is with really big enemies, the camera freaks out. Like it's really hard to figure out what's going on because you'll be focused on like the foot and you can't see anything that's happening anywhere else. So you get stomped on by an arm smash that you literally could not see because you were closer to their feet or something. So these games have always struggled with big enemies and big bosses, and it seems so far in the gameplay we're seeing right now that they fixed that. I haven't seen anything where it's like, oh, that looks unfair. It actually looks like they managed to refine that, so that's tremendous.
It was also a great introduction to the new stagger system, which encourages you to push the action and be aggressive in order to build a stagger meter that will briefly stun a large enemy once it's full, making every shot against them while staggered a direct hit that deals much more damage. Armored Core 6 maintains the mission structure of previous games, with every chapter coming with its own collection of main missions that progress the story, and side missions that provide you with an opportunity to earn some extra cash to spend on upgrading your mech. Both mission varieties impress me. The side missions offer up a wide variety of objectives that force me to take different combat approaches each time, like a mission that required me to destroy a series of transport helicopters in a limited amount of time, while also desperately trying to avoid a high-powered enemy AC that was trained to kill me on sight. The main missions, on the other hand, were lengthy, multi-part engagements that were almost always punctuated by a memorable boss fight. As an example, let me tell you about this Strider mission that I've been dying to talk about. It began with me on the surface of Rubicon in the middle of a dust storm with the mission objective of defeating a Strider. Now, I don't know what a Strider is, so I just move forward and start to see way off in the distance the silhouette of what almost looks like a giant oil platform structure. As I move towards it, fighting some weak enemies along the way, all of a sudden I'm shot by a giant laser coming from the direction of that giant structure. A bit frazzled, I look a bit closer and realize, yeah, that's not an oil platform. That giant 40-story tall structure is the Strider that I'm being paid to destroy. What follows is an incredible sequence where I have to methodically make my way to the top of the Strider by first taking out its legs, destroying some generators, and hopping all across its side, until eventually I'm in a boss battle with that eye that's been continuously making my life a living hell with its giant laser. After finally bringing it down, I've got to do a dramatic leap to avoid getting caught up in the explosion, and can turn around to watch my handiwork as the mechanized giant crumples to the ground.
Now that gets me interested. That spectacle, that scope, that scale, that gets me excited. I'm willing to sacrifice things like graphical fidelity and stuff if the scale is on that level. That's tremendous. I love that. That's pretty badass. Okay. See, this is one of those things where it's like, I may not be sold on Monday on a game, The hope with somebody who's skeptical and is actually a skeptic and not like a cynic is that as new evidence or new pieces of the puzzle come in and you can evaluate them, your opinion can shift. And in this case, something like this that looks this badass weighs that scale a little more, or even a lot more, to the point where I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. This looks badass. But going off of the information I had on Monday, I wasn't sold. I just wasn't that interested in it. But this gets me really interested, especially if in previews they're showing something like this that's this crazy in scope. I can only imagine they're going to have a lot of other big stuff later on in the game, which this kind of thing I love. I love huge set pieces that are crazy cinematic and wild, where you're like, I don't know how they possibly got that working. It's basically the only reason I didn't give that Horizon Forbidden West DLC, the Burning Shores DLC, why I didn't give it like a 6 out of 10. It was just because that final encounter with the boss that you fight at the end of it, I guess I'll avoid big spoilers even though it's on the box art. That final boss fight is so great, it basically saves the whole DLC. It's like worth $20 in and of itself.
This moment sold me on Armored Core 6. It was also the moment I decided that this was a series I needed to dust off my PS3 for and at least go back and play the 4th and 5th gen versions of. In another mission, appropriately titled Operation Wall Climber, I was presented with a wide open combat arena featuring a giant wall lined with damaging turrets that made any straightforward frontal approach ill-advised, to say the least. Half of the challenge of getting through the level was charting the right path forward and weaving through cannon shots until I finally made it to the wall. And then I could hop up and systematically take out each of the turrets before dealing with the rest of the fight down below. And this mission really exemplifies what I'm most excited about for Armored Core 6. It's a game with an open-ended combat design that truly allows you to come up with your own solutions to the problems a mission's design lays out. Weaving through cannon fire and making my way up the wall was the solution that I arrived at, but I also could have equipped a long-range rifle and tried to take out the turrets from a distance. Other players will likely come up with their own solutions based on how they equip their mech. Even in just Chapter 1, there was already a ton of flexibility in how to approach a given combat scenario. And given the fact that there will be more weapons and parts unlocked later on, I'm very excited to see what else FromSoftware has in store as the player's toolbox increases as the game progresses. My demo ended with an exhilarating boss fight against an enemy mech that did the classic mecha anime thing of spamming literally hundreds of heat-seeking missiles at once. This was a fight that took many attempts, with me trying out numerous different build types before arriving at a double rocket launcher build that got me the damage I needed to just barely bring him down before he finished me off. Armored Core 6 feels like a new beginning for this storied franchise, one that's benefited from the success and experience gained from FromSoftware's other titles, but one that is still true to the original vision of the series. I can't wait to see what lies beyond Chapter 1 when Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon releases on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC on August 25th.
Okay. Yeah, just the big, crazy scale and scope of like this, I can understand why he would say that this sold him on the game. And I think like this is more interesting to me than like, oh, you go through here, you fight waves of little turrets on a wall. Like that's not really interesting to me. But big, like if I'm fighting for or to get to something crazy in scope and scale like this, that makes all of that worth it. As for the feeling, I've seen not just Treble say it, but I've seen a lot of people mention it. Like it feels like a PS3 game. I think the reason it feels like that is because the PS3 gen is the last time these games were made. Like they just haven't been attempted by any huge studios, as far as I'm aware, like this in the PS4 gen or certainly the PS5 gen so far. Maybe there's some more niche stuff by other developers in the like on PS4 or out of Japan. There's some people putting games like this together, but I just don't think that these types of games have been designed, because the meta for the PS4 gen very quickly became like third-person adventure games, and that was everywhere. And, you know, in 10, 15 years, we're probably going to look back at third-person adventure games and be like, oh my God, that looks so outdated compared to what we have now. Now, everything is all about, I don't know, mech games, or it's all about X, Y, or Z. Like, who knows where we'll be in 10 years. But that's, I mean, it's frankly probably why it feels like a PS3 game, and it's because, well, during the PS3 gen, we had a lot of games with this type of movement, this type of combat, this type of gameplay. And so, yeah, it does feel It feels old school, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing. Let's see. Who you said Skill Up also tried it and he had kind of mixed feelings. I mean, already I can see, oh God, where did my camera go? Hold on, okay, that it's just that camera. Okay. Huh. Well, let me try. I'll try turning it off and on again. Let's try that. The others are working, so the capture card seems okay. Turn it off. Turn it on. I know it's off. I'm seeing if this fixed it. Oh, now we're both. Yay! There we go. Okay. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe there's a power surge. But you would have thought that that would have taken this out. I have no idea. Everything in here is on surge protectors and crap, so who knows? Okay, you said Skill Up.
Use a keyboard and mouse. As always, this is a preview build and not representative of final quality, so keep in mind things may change or improve at launch. I got to play for around about 4 hours, experiencing the first 11 or so
Jesus, he needs to use a de-esser. It's like killing my ears.
missions of the game and fight a number of major and minor mini-bosses. I got to capture my own footage, which is what you're seeing here, and Bandai Namco also provided me with some additional B-roll for some of the later missions that I wasn't able to reach during my session. Do note that while I captured a whole bunch of footage, I'm not allowed to show you a fair amount of what I captured, as Bandai are obviously concerned about spoilers and want to keep plenty of powder dry for that August 25th release. So, right off the top, I think it's important for me to clarify that I am not an Armored Core veteran. I've not played an Armored Core game before. I think I owned one on the PS2 back in the day, but if I ever booted it up, I can't recall doing so. It's a series that just never really spoke to me, despite being an anime fan back in the day, loving Virtua On at the arcades, and just being generally interested in the whole mech thing. Armored Core has always been a niche title, especially in the West, and for whatever reason, it just never caught my attention. I imagine quite a few people fall into that same category, and much like myself, I imagine many of those people are now very keenly interested in Armored Core, because in the intervening 11 years since the release of Armored Core 5, the game's developer, FromSoft, kind of turned the entire games industry on its head with the release of Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Elden Ring. The Souls-like subgenre has become one of the most influential subgenres ever, and almost every new FromSoft iteration on that formula has refined or expanded crucial aspects of it, enabling the studio to deliver masterpiece after masterpiece. Armored Core 6 is intriguing right out of the gate, because for the first time in 11 years, FromSoft is not refining or expanding on that formula. They're instead going back to their roots, to this mech series that isn't about swords and shields and magic, or contiguous open worlds, or a disempowerment fantasy where everything can kill you in one hit. This is instead a sci-fi technology-led game where you will spend vast amounts of time in your menu customizing your mech to complete missions that can be as short as just 1 or 2 minutes sometimes. It's a game comprised of distinct, disconnected maps, each of them stronger in their vertical possibilities than their horizontal spans.
I saw some people on Twitter talking about the 1 to 2 minute missions. And like the knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, it's bad because it's so short. Like the actual mission's so short. But I think a lot of that will just depend on the quality of life. Like if it's load screen, 1 minute mission, load screen, customize your mech, load screen, 2 minute mission, load screen, customize your mech. Like that's a problem. I think that would be frustrating. But if it's like very quick load time and then you just kind of snap from set piece to set piece, encounter to encounter, I don't have a problem with that. Like in a fighting game where it's just, oh, that was a quick encounter. Okay, move on to the next one. That's not a problem. It's just, I think coming off of the PS4 gen when you had like 45-second load times, 65-second load times, the idea of the mission you're going on only being a minute or 2 long in some cases, some of them are obviously much bigger. I could see that being frustrating, but who knows? Who knows?
Crucially, it's a game
Yeah, also, we're going to get to Shadow of War here in just a minute. This is like the last thing I wanted to look at.
where, at least in the opening block, FromSoft wants you to feel powerful, fast, durable, and lethal. The opening chapter of modern FromSoft games have typically been about your weak, fragile husk overcoming impossible odds. Armored Core 6 inverts this by giving you ready access to a mech that is vastly more powerful than most of the foes you'll encounter, and that only meets its match in mini-bosses and final boss encounters. After 4 hours with Armored Core, 2 things stand out to me. Number 1, this is not a Souls-like. That point may be eye-rollingly obvious to many of you, but there's been no small amount of discourse out there with people using brief gameplay clips to argue that Armored Core and Dark Souls are more alike than they are dissimilar. That's just not true, at least not from my experience. While these games do share some similarities such as deep RPG customization, challenging boss encounters, and precisely tuned encounter design, the structure, tone, and core gameplay
Gage,
of Armored
welcome.
Core 6 are all totally distinct from what From Souls-like games aim to deliver. It's interesting to explore how From's decade and a half of Souls-like success has influenced the design of Armored Core 6, but that really is where the line of inquiry should end, because trying to brute force Armored Core 6 under the Souls-like category is a fool's errand. Secondly, what's also clear to me is that unlike Souls-like games, Armored Core 6 is a slow burn. You can play just a few minutes of even Dark Souls 2 and immediately be drawn in by its world, its monsters, the items you might discover, and so much more. Armored Core 6 is not like that. Some 4 hours in, much of it has felt slow, disjointed, at times frustrating, and very often uneven. Some of the early missions are so short and so underwhelming that I was left thinking, man, that mission really could have been an email. But at other times, Armored Core 6 is showing the flashes of brilliance that I expect will define the rest of the game. Thrilling boss encounters, enemy mechs as big as mountains needing to be brought low by my energy blade and rockets, an intriguing storyline that in typical FromSoft fashion delights in leaving much unsaid, and perhaps most impressive of all, some really excellent encounter design that fuses unique level layouts, enemy types, and objectives to deliver experiences that few games have offered this past decade. Armored Core 6 starts out very slow, to the point where I actually can't say that I like it yet, but I'm almost certain that I eventually will. There's an unseen quality to it that's just quietly humming and building, and you can feel it at all times, and coupled with From's reputation for genre-defining excellence, that's more than enough for me to be very, very excited to get my hands on the full game next month.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, like, reputation carries a lot of weight. FromSoftware gets the benefit of the doubt that other companies don't get because they've demonstrated repeatedly that they know what they're doing. Yeah, they really do. So if initial frustrations are present, there is the benefit of the doubt given to them that, okay, by the time you're 10 hours in, hopefully you figured it out, you know, it's polished up. But, you know, it's that benefit of the doubt is something that is very difficult to earn, but it's easy to lose. You know, it just takes one flop for people to immediately go, okay, yeah, no, next time you're going to have to convince me over again. Like Cyberpunk 2077, Fallout 76, like you can have huge studios that are widely praised and lauded that are dismissed very quickly just because they screwed up once. So I'm not saying that this is going to be a screw up, but it's just to say this benefit of the doubt they have is pretty rare. And everybody like the stream, otherwise my mods will throw things at me.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon begins here, in orbit, above a planet that houses a rare mineral called coral. It's so precious that its presence here essentially defines this planet. Much of it a mining colony and refinery to excavate and process the material, militant corporations staking their claims and protecting it with advanced weaponry, mercenary outfits floating from job to job, switching sides in an endless war waged in the name of profit. It's a simple but effective premise. From space we can see how thoroughly this planet has been claimed by industrialization, and when we make landfall we can see up close how thoroughly ruined this world is. There's no beauty to be found here. It's factories the size of cities and barren tundra, rolling desert punctuated only by ruins, and bleak cityscapes that clearly serve only the most utilitarian needs. While these visuals certainly sell the premise of a broken world, they also lack the impact that From Souls-like titles have never struggled to elicit. I'll be frank, 4 hours deep, Armored Core is a pretty bland looking game. Its levels are functionally interesting in their layouts and their scenario design, but few of them have much visual flair to accompany that design flair. The factory spaces in particular feel very dull, like the environments of Nier Automata, a game some 6 years old which even back then was panned for its uninspired environments. Whether it's indoor factories, outdoor urban space, snowy tundra or whatever, it all just looks a little, yeah, bland. There's certainly reason to be hopeful that this changes later in the game, as From's art team are unquestionably one of the best in the business, but from the Undead Burg to Majula to Cathedral Ward to Limgrave, From games have never struggled to make a strong first impression, and it's a little curious that after some 4 hours with Armored Core, I really can't think of any unique space that stands out as being particular.
I agree. I mean, it so far it looks bland, but these games have always looked bland to especially Westerners, I think. Gage, thank you for gifting a membership. Oh baby. Appreciate you, my friend. That's wonderful. And welcome, Tyson. Just got gifted a membership. That's tremendous. Again, like, remember what we were saying about those trees and how you got to be honest and real with what's going on here? To say that what we've seen so far, except for that big boss encounter, to say that what we've seen so far doesn't look bland is kind of silly. Like, the game is very flat. It's just a bunch of shades of gray, which is why his coloring on his mech is so jarring, because the rest of the game is so gray. Like, it just is. It's very, very flat. And people will say, well, yeah, it's a factory. What do you expect it to be? Painted super carefully? It's like, yeah, that's not my fault that the factories are boring to look at. It just, like, they are. I agree. But I didn't choose to make the game filled with factories. They did, okay? Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Memorable for its visual design. Separate from art design, it's clear that Armored Core isn't pushing the envelope when it comes to the more technical visual elements.
This is beautiful. This is a gorgeous set piece.
Now, I was playing this on a top-of-the-line PC at max settings, and even then textures and lighting looked a little flat and low-res, shadows and ground clutter are fairly minimal, terrain detail is very low, there's just not a lot of depth to what you're seeing. It's as though From have pulled a lot of the detail out to get it running on PS4 and Xbox One, and also keep the action smooth. So
Oh, I forgot this is running on last-gen consoles. Oh, baby, that's a bummer.
So is it smooth? Basically yes, but like I said, this was a top-of-the-line PC, and even then I did notice the odd frame drop here and there. From games have typically been a bit wonky with their day one technical performance. Elden Ring was a perfect example of that. So personally, I'm looking forward to doing some more detailed testing across some different PCs to see how well this runs come launch. Incidentally, I did get a quick look at the PC options menu, and you can see it here. Nothing too remarkable. From have never been industry leaders when it comes to PC options menus, and what's here is in line with that. It's enough, but it's certainly not enthusiast level. Motion blur options are helpful, but there's no FOV slider if that's something that matters to you in a game like this. Interestingly, Armored Core 6 does support ray tracing, but do note that this is only in the garage when you are doing all of your customization and fine-tuning. There is no ray tracing during actual gameplay, which, yeah, makes sense, given that ray tracing hasn't been a focus of FromSoft games to this point, and it'd be surprising if they started here. I know that I haven't been particularly
Yeah, and I mean, ray tracing's cool if you have like a 4090, but for everybody else, it's just kind of marketing crap. I don't think it's that useful. You can achieve most of that stuff with like weird imitation methods that Digital Foundry's looked at, like even just the stuff that Unreal Engine 5 is doing and a lot of other engines are doing to imitate ray tracing and global illumination is really, really impressive. But I mean, in cases like this, you can see how like under here should be shaded. This should be much darker than it is, but it's not shaded. Like the thing right in front of it is shaded, but this isn't getting a shadow cast on it for some reason. I don't know why. And that's part of the reason the game looks kind of flat, because it's lacking some of that depth.
Complementary in this block, but I also don't want to give the impression that Armored Core has nothing to offer, either artistically or technically. The design of the mechs was awesome, and some of the larger boss encounters absolutely delivered on the visual spectacle we've come to expect from. The mech customization also looks fantastic, and while I've only unlocked a tiny portion of the overall arsenal at this point, the ability to make a really fucking cool looking mech is already there. Technically, I think most of From's choices have paid off, as the lack of pop-in coupled with massive levels and high enemy density have already produced some very tense missions where I felt pressured no matter where I was on these massive maps. So all of that stuff is great, and I'm sure there's more in store, but so far Armored Core 6's visuals aren't creating the sort of knockout first impression that other FromSoft titles do, and that's a reality that's mirrored in the gameplay side of things as well. I'm sure there are plenty of Armored Core veterans watching this video who might find a few details I'm going to spell out here a little obvious, but since most people watching this video wouldn't have played an Armored Core game, I want to spend a bit of time outlining exactly what this game is, since it's very different to From's output over the past decade. Armored Core 6 is a story-led, mission-based mech action game with a very strong focus on mech customization. You play as a single character who may or may not have an actual human body. You get given a mech at the start with no ability to customize it in that first mission. The story unfolds almost exclusively over comms channels like the Codex in Metal Gear. The base of operations is a large garage represented by a number of menu options that let you buy new mech components, customize your mech, conduct training.
Treble, thank you. Looks arse. He's couldn't play well. Yeah, it's gotta play well. I mean, but again, art direction is what's carried most of FromSoftware's games. They've never been like crazy impressive with texture quality or subsurface scattering or anything like that. They've always been like running on an engine that's focused more on gameplay than graphics. But the art design usually carries it. And I think that's part of what's kind of jarring about what we've seen so far, which is a couple of really awesome set pieces like that huge boss, and then a handful of really flat, boring looking levels of just gray buildings next to a gray mountain on gray rocks, you know? Technically, their best looking game was remade by another team. Yeah, kind of.
Missions in VR and deploy to main missions. Booting up a mission will give you a mission briefing followed by a short deployment cutscene, a quick loading screen later, and you're out in the field. Missions will have at least one but potentially multiple objectives. You get the job done, and as soon as you do, your handler will tell you that it's time to go home, fade to black, and you're back in your garage HQ ready to do it all over again.
Oh, you guys know me, I hate
missions
fade
are a mix of
blacks.
fucking awesome and pretty underwhelming, actually. Your arrival on the planet is a 20-minute epic that shuttles you through a range of environments, both indoor and outdoor. You fight a variety of units before facing off against an introductory mini-boss, a giant attack helicopter that has missiles spewing out of every orifice. There's some cool story beats that happen here too. The whole thing just pops off, and you're like, hell yeah, man, this rules. Can't wait for more. The next mission is one I can't show you, but it's equally good in a different way. It's in a city setting, and it's all about taking down these artillery cannons spread out about the city, and they're being guarded by enemy units, and it's really tense, and it's a good time. The mission after that one is another one I can't show you, but it's set in a very small section of a factory. You just have to kill a handful of really easy, low-level enemies, and the whole thing is over in like 3 minutes. I finished that mission, and I was like, wait, what? Is that it? That unevenness was a feature of the rest of my time with the game. I distinctly remember one mission where I was tasked with hunting down an enemy AC, and I was all hyped up on comms as being this new experimental model that could pose a big threat, etc. camera. I killed him in about 50 seconds, and the entire mission was 90 seconds long. But then the very next mission was this one, where I had to take down this mech the size of a mountain. It was a mining rig with this laser eye, and I had to make my approach while dodging this laser, and then I had to cripple one of its legs so I could climb on top of it, had to destroy a number of its core components, and then take down the eye itself, which was kind of like a boss battle, but a pretty easy one. That mission was fucking cool, and there were 6 or 7 missions that were equally cool. But yeah, there were also like 3 or 4 missions which were really short, simple, straightforward, and I kind of wondered what their purpose was. When Armored Core is really cooking though, it's very awesome and very unique. There's just nothing else that I've played quite like this. I think that's partly because we don't get many mech games here in the West, but also because From have done some really interesting things with level design, enemy types, enemy locations, and objectives. When I arrived for my hands-on session, one of the first things the Bandai Namco representative told me was that verticality is one of the game's central design pillars. Souls-likes are very horizontal games, which is why the jump buttons in Sekiro and Elden Ring opened up the gameplay model so much. Here in Armored Core, the entire game is built around the need to think vertically. Some levels here are absolutely massive, not only in how far they stretch, but in how high they reach. You are constantly making these huge leaps to reposition yourself, using the high ground as an advantage and low ground for cover. Some of the artillery lines are so high up that you need to use gravity lifts in order to reach them, and executing your approach requires a mix of strategic planning and mechanical deftness. That's the thing I came to understand about Armored Core's best missions. They're kind of like action puzzles. The level layouts, enemy types, and enemy placements are all very specific, and if you just try and brute force your way through them, you are going to get pureed by the cannonade. Instead, you have to poke at the perimeter, find weak spots, engage in guerrilla-style skirmish tactics before ducking back behind cover. It's a mixture of positioning, managing the weapon cooldowns, target prioritization, and more than a little intuition, since you start to get a feel for the battlefield and you can sense when things are getting just a little too hot. As impressed as I was by these mission types, I felt like I was only scratching the surface. One of the later missions I did saw me facing off against advanced, invisible, teleporting mechs, each of them capable of sniping me from across the map and dealing huge damage. I had to leapfrog from cover to cover while trying to scan for them so I could target lock or connect with a melee strike. It felt like that Sniper Wolf boss showdown in Metal Gear, and this was just one regular-ass mission here in Armored Core. The cleverness of the mission and scenario design is important because the combat is not as mechanically demanding or satisfying as it is in From Souls-like titles. Firstly, the difficulty equation here is very different. Most enemies you'll encounter, at least in the first 4 hours, are largely fodder and pose very little threat. In fact, I'd argue that...
Yeah, I just feel like this is going to be one of those games that's like, you got to try it, you got to play it. You know, like... Yeah, Marcel, what's the problem with it lasting only 90 seconds? That's a really long time, actually. I just think, like, so much of this is coming down to the first few hours are a mixed bag. There's some really cool moments, and then there's a lot of really bland moments. And then later in the game, there's probably going to be a lot more that's awesome. And I'm like, cool. So we'll try it. We'll see what's up. I haven't, like... There's a couple of these big moments. That big boss fight gets me actually really interested. The mech customization looks cool. The ability to quickly swap out builds, I think, is awesome. But so far, it's interesting that there's not, among more critical people or people not exposed to this franchise before, a lot of people are like, I'm interested, but I'm not sold yet. Which is to be expected. I mean, like we said, most of us haven't played these types of games before, so we don't really know what to expect from them. What From team developed this? What do you mean, what From team developed this? Like the FromSoftware team, like the same guys that did Elden Ring and everything. They're doing this. This is the project they're working on. They probably have a smaller team also working on the DLC and stuff. For Elden Ring and other projects, but like Hidetaka Miyazaki, the game director for Elden Ring and all the other games they've done, is directly involved with this. This is what he's doing. Is it Sekiro? Or is Miyazaki credited as executive producer? Is it one of those situations? Let's look it up. Oh no, maybe if I just look up Armored Core. No, the Bandai Namco website's not gonna have anything on it. Armored Core 6 published. Plot. Yeah, they started on this back in 2016. FromSoftware president Hidetaka Miyazaki mentioned that a new entry in the Armored Core series was in early development, so they've been working on this thing for a minute. Like 7 years. That's crazy. I mean, it was an early development, so it was probably just like, you know, sitting around a table throwing around ideas, but still, like, that's crazy. You're right. So Armored Core 6 is being directed by Masaru Yamamura. His debut in the role after being a lead game designer on Sekiro. He took over from Miyazaki, who led development initially. Okay, so I must be going off of this. So Miyazaki led development initially, and then at some point handed it off to this guy. Interesting. Okay. Yasunori Ogura will serve as the game's producer. According to Ogura, many FromSoftware staff members, including himself and Miyazaki, wanted to develop a new entry in the series, but had to wait in order to properly allocate resources into the project. Makes sense. They were working on a lot of big stuff. In 2018, the game entered prototyping, with Yamamura taking over as director once the gameplay was set in stone. Okay, so Miyazaki worked on it while they were prototyping and building gameplay systems, and then he handed it off to Yamamura once the development of the gameplay was set in stone, and they just went to like designing boss fights and levels and actually building the game with those tools. Okay. Koda Hoshino served as the lead composer. During development, Hoshino was given keywords by Yamamura in order to set the game's tone and evoke a sense of loneliness and nostalgia. Hoshino was given freedom when it came to composition based on keywords, with tracks being adjusted according to the game's flow. Interesting. So it started with Hidetaka like helping with the gameplay systems and mechanics, but then he handed it off to the Sekiro lead game designer for actually putting the game together. Interesting. I stand corrected. So that's a different story. That's different. It's not from start to finish being done by Hidetaka. It's been done by, well, initially Hidetaka, and then he handed it off later on. Interesting. This game initially will be a success, but later on people will realize it isn't for them. I'm glad they're giving like gameplay previews and stuff. I think that's great. Because for everybody that's like in the gaming industry that follows it closely, that watches a streamer talking about video games on a Wednesday afternoon, we look at it and we understand clearly this is not going to be like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or any of those. It's a different thing. It's a mech game. It's just different. However, there's going to be a lot of people, more casual gamers, who are going to see this and be like, oh, it's from the guys that did Elden Ring. I liked Elden Ring because that game was huge when it came out. And they're going to jump on it, try it, and then be shocked when it feels like a totally different game. And the only way you fight that is with proper marketing and then exposure to creators who can communicate that point a little bit better. FromSoftware, exactly. From is trying to be very, very clear about that, which is good. And everybody who's played it is like, this is not a Soulsborne game. This is fundamentally different. But you better believe there's going to be a lot of people that buy this. And I'll bet you money right now, there's going to be a lot of people that buy this, try it for like an hour or two, and then never touch it again. And that's why I thought it was so shocking that they decided to go back to this. Like, they became a studio known for this very unique type of game, and then they're just pivoting off of it. And I know they're still doing that same type of game. They're working on other projects, but to also do this under the same name, same banner, was just surprising. Happened with Elden 2. I think to a lesser extent, frankly, like Elden Ring, a lot of people, it wasn't that people thought, oh, I loved Dark Souls 3, I'm going to try Elden Ring, and then they hated it. Most people who tried Elden Ring and didn't connect with it were people that just tried it because they saw everybody talking about it. And there were so many dumbasses who were like, oh, it's like Breath of the Wild meets Dark Souls, which is an objectively stupid thing to say. And people heard that and were like, I liked Breath of the Wild, I'll try it too. And then they couldn't get past the first couple of bosses and they're like, this is terrible. And they never touched it again. So I think it was just a different situation. People who understood FromSoftware's previous games for the last decade that tried Elden Ring loved it. People were like, wait, it's Dark Souls with like 100+ bosses and a big open world and stuff where I can just stumble into a boss encounter. That sounds amazing. And people connected with it in a really good way. Oh yeah, Mr. K. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, no, then we're on the same page. I personally know a bunch of people who bought Elden Ring not knowing what a Souls game is, then they put it down quickly. Exactly. Well, and a lot of it came from that miscommunication from some creators who came in and hyped it up saying this is like Skyrim meets a Soulsborne game. This is the greatest game ever created, which very well might be for some people. But that type of narrative, that type of discourse got a lot of people to go, well, I'll try it. I want to play the best game ever made. I want to play Skyrim meets whatever this other game is that I've never heard of or I haven't played before. So I'll try. I liked Skyrim, and then they try it and they're just miserable. Clickbait for attention from casual gamers for sure. Well, and it's just I'm always shocked at how many people talk before they, like, and we're all guilty of this, but they talk and make videos on stuff before they've actually thought through what they're saying. Like, they'll just throw stuff out there and not really think about it. It's like all of those people that will say like, oh, GTA 6 is going to be, it's going to have all of these crazy features. They list out like, oh, it'll have a full CCTV network, so you can hack into CCTV cameras anywhere in the map at any time and track NPCs that live actual days and lives as they move from their apartments to their jobs. Then they go to hang out with friends. You can track all this on CCTV cameras. And you're like, I mean, if we're just making stuff up, okay. But you're just like saying stuff because you get excited and you think, well, probably that might be in there. And they just throw it out there. And it's like, you may not be lying, but you don't know that that's the case. You are speculating. And I think there's a real problem in the industry where people don't know the difference between speculation and journalism. Like it all blends together. But anyway. Yeah, it's Red Dead 2 meets Dark Souls. I remember one we saw with that. The big one was people saying Breath of the Wild meets Dark Souls. And I was like, no. Breath of the Wild is focused on like, well, to explain it gives it more credit than it deserves. Proto, I would guess we go for probably another couple of hours. I'm going to boot up Shadow of War here in just a second, and we're going to start going through that. Trying to track down some orcs. Rocking and rolling. Have I covered the new Starfield video Bethesda released? They released a new video. I saw everybody posting like, Bethesda finally breaks their silence. And I'm like, they haven't said anything in like a week and a half. Chill out. Like, come on, dude. It's okay. Take a minute. Where hope is built. Hold on. What is this? It's just a cartoon. Okay, personally, I can watch that later. Personally, I'm interested in like stuff that actually explains stuff about the game. Or are all of these just like narrative cartoons? Are they just like little anime? This is what all those people are making YouTube videos about? Are you kidding me? Guys. They showed basically that you can join these factions and stuff that the factions are tied to. Okay. We already knew that. What do you want to bet? They saw Edge Runners and were like, Let's just do that. Well, people got really, really excited about that. Let's just do that. Oh, come on, guys. Really? This is what we're doing? Yeah, like Juicehead's got a video up already about it. Almost has more views than the core videos themselves. Yeah, a quick animation showing a story that says a lot about the major cities without even saying a word. Says a lot without saying anything. That's what that says. Actually amazing. Hope there's more of these. The security in Neon is terrible. Shameful is what it is. Okay. I mean, I was hoping for like an actual reveal. Like I'll check it out. I'll watch it. I don't think anybody wants to just sit here for 10 minutes and go through 3 little clips of like cartoons without words on them. But okay, I was hoping for like something more interesting, but who knows? Maybe I'll watch it later and I'll be like, oh my god, those are actually really cool. But pretty clearly they're just like, oh, edge runners, let's do that. They probably had some cash left. Well, I mean, it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea. I just went into that, like I saw, oh, Bethesda released a new Starfield video, and I saw all the recommended videos of people like, Starfield, they finally broke their silence after like a month. They're finally talking about the game again. I'm like, guys, first of all, it's been like a few weeks. They took some vacation time. It's okay. It's not been a drought. Okay, we've all been okay. And then it's like a couple of fun little like cartoon marketing things. That's fine, but I don't know why we're all so excited about it. Yes, Proto, I can do that. I will actually message them right now about that real quick before we move on. I will do that right now. Here, I'll actually like screen cap your comment and then I'll send it to them so that I can be like, see, somebody in chat requested this. So give me just a second. I will do that. Why won't Shadow of War get a 60 FPS update on PS5? I think there's a handful of things going on with it. But I agree, it's weird that they haven't done it. I think basically once Warner Brothers realized that they weren't going to just print money with the loot boxes, they bailed on it. Also, I need to see if they ever fixed this thing. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I had to be sassy boy. I asked them to change one other thing and they still haven't done it. It's okay. They're busy. Let's see. It's a shame that Warner Brothers used the game for microtransactions because Shadow of War is such a good game. Well, that's what we're going to see today. I have been playing it on my ROG Ally. And frankly, I've been having a pretty good time. I think the game got a justly bad rap when it launched. It really deserved all the criticism it got. However, now they've stripped out all of the microtransactions and stuff, but like there's still a gap. Like that hole is still there. They didn't replace that with anything. It's still there. So for example, like they had a bunch of stuff for like XP boosts. Does anybody know about like any videos that did a good breakdown of the monetization stuff they did? Shadow of War loot boxes. Oh, like old school Yong. Yong did a video way back in the day. Oh, look at this. Yong out. Check Yong out. Do you think he's getting all giddy for Armored Core 6? Probably. Get ready. There's going to be some toxic videos coming out, dude. It's going to be so insufferable. Even if the game's really good, people are going to be so freaking annoying about it.
Discussed an interview that design director Bob Roberts did with website Eurogamer. In the interview, when asked about concerns regarding game balance and progression due to the implementation of loot boxes and microtransactions, Bob claimed that the game has been balanced so that the game could be enjoyed without them. He said, "We're working our tails off to make this massive game, and as a designer, I focus on balancing it. We do a ton of playtesting to make sure it is tuned to a setting where people can enjoy it. We kept all of the loot boxes and the economy of real-world money turned off in playtesting, so we know we're balancing around an experience which is rewarding without any of that stuff."
That's exactly what you would hope to hear. It's like I, for example, did some testing with Assassin's Creed Odyssey where it really seemed like they balanced the game and the XP payouts, assuming you had the XP boost enabled. Because when you had it enabled, you just kind of glided from main quest to main quest to main quest, and then you hit the ending. With it turned off, no XP boost, you go main quest, main quest, main quest, and then you hit right before the ending, and you have to grind for like 20 hours of gameplay. It's a ton. And so to me, that's pretty clear. Okay, they balanced it, assuming that you have that thing enabled. However, in this case, they said that they balanced it, but as we're about to see, they almost certainly didn't balance it, according to somebody never touching loot boxes, because the end game grind to get the true ending is crazy.
Hopefully, when it is out there and people are able to talk about their experiences, then the balancing question will be answered, hopefully by people you trust to play through it and see that. Sounds reassuring at a glance, but to me, these words rang hollow from the moment I heard them, because we have been there, done that. Time and again, developers and publishers have claimed the exact same thing, only for the final microtransactions and loot box infested product to not live up to those words. And unfortunately, as it turns out, Shadow of War is no different. The following information comes from various reviews that have been making waves across the internet. For the most part, the game has been fairly well received by critics, praised for an excellent combat system, an expanded open world, the introduction of fortress sieges, and improvements to the unique Nemesis system that the series is best known for. Most reviews also agree that for the most part, microtransactions and loot boxes can be ignored without too many adverse effects, as the game does grant you weapons, armor, and orc followers aplenty. That's not to say that they aren't distracting. As website Eurogamer described it in their review, the fact these chests aren't necessary, however, does little to diminish the awareness that they're very much a part of the game, especially when you're reminded of the market's existence by way of an announcement carousal.
Carousal. Carousel. I'm sorry. That's just funny. By the way, Brandon, thank you. Haven't been in a stream in a while. Good to be back near the end of one. Also, you have any vids on YouTube about RE2 and RE3 remakes? If I recall correctly, I did one on Resident Evil 2 or 3 remake. It's the one that was super short, because I felt insulted at how short it was. So I made a video complaining about that. So that's out there. It's like a mini review. And then I don't think I ever did one for Resident Evil 2. I don't know why. Maybe it was like during finals or something. I think it was something with school was going on, where my schedule was just like totally booked up. But I think it was something like that. Jim Sterling did a video 5 years ago.
In a case of far too little, far too late, Middle-earth Shadow of War is the latest game to pull a bit of a U-turn in terms of its monetization.
Oh yeah, dude, I forgot about these menus. These are still kind of in the game, but they've taken a little bit of a different look. Like they have crates you can open, but it's not done in this way. Also, like you'll see a permanent XP multiplier, which if you ever see something like this in the game, you better believe that this thing is built to be grindy, because they're basically selling you an XP boost. That's what that is. As for this, like Olog Shock Troop War Chest, recruit 3 Olog followers, 3 Orc followers, at least 1 legendary, 2 epic, 2 consumables, and 2 hour spoils of war boosts. So you get boosts and followers. Awesome. The frustrating thing now is, though, the grind has been reduced a little bit, but it's still there. Like, there's still a lot of grind. Because right now, when we boot into the game, when we actually swap over, you're going to see I'm at the end of the game. Like, I've played through it. I've reached whatever kind of faux ending you initially hit. And then now I'm in the end game grind where you're just running around doing like the same thing over and over and over again. Luckily, the core loop is really, really fun, but it's still super annoying that grind is there. It's very frustrating.
War is the latest game to pull a bit of a U-turn in terms of its monetization strategies, following on from EA's impressive backtracking with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yeah, dude, both Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Shadow of War launched within just like a few months of each other. And they were both horribly monetized. Like 2017 was the year of corporations really pushing that boundary. It was crazy.
Major difference, of course, is that Warner Brothers has sat for months on a loot box flavored Shadow of War. A game that was released late last year. It's April 2018 now. It's been months, and only just now, the developers are saying, you know what? We think that might have undermined the Nemesis system a bit. You don't fucking say. I said that when I first played the game. I said it when I played the game. I said it when I beat the game. I said it during the top 10 shittiest games of 2017 award video I did. Multiple times other people said that I was overblowing it, blowing it out of proportion. But here we go. The developer themselves have fucking admitted it now. Although, again, too little, too bloody late. The core premise of the Nemesis system is the ability to build relationships with your personal allies and enemies in a dynamic open world. While purchasing orcs in the market is more immediate and provides additional player options, we have come to realise that providing this choice risked undermining the heart of our game. You don't say. You mean the ability to...
Yeah, the whole thing never really made sense. Like, you can upgrade orcs to legendary. You can get them there. And you can level them up. You can get them to the point where they can... did the game freeze? Hold on. There we go. You can get them there. It just takes a little bit of time. Like, if we go here, you can see, like, if I select... he's legendary. But if I select this guy who's not legendary, I can command and then training orders. And you can go in and you could give him legendary training. You can see it's super expensive with the little currency you collect. Super expensive. It's 20,000. But you can make them legendary. But this was the whole thing, is they made it so difficult to get a legendary orc that has all sorts of extra perks and boosts and stuff, and extra power, that you would just say, screw it, I'm going to buy a loot box and unlock at least 1 legendary, maybe more, and then 2 epics, which is what we want, right? And it's just, the thing's built to push you into that. Let's ambush. Okay. Now we're gonna go find this guy. We're gonna do it. Also, each Nemesis mission boosts them based on who they defeat's rarity. Yes. Frankly, like, there is a lot here, which is why it's all the more frustrating and depressing to see how it was treated. Because the game, even with that stuff stripped out, is just like a little hollow. Because it's so heavy on the grind, you just feel as though there should be a way to make more XP and stuff, and there just isn't. One of the top searched Google things relating to this game is, how do I gain more XP? And if people are having to search that, you got a problem. Because they shouldn't have to. They really shouldn't. They should just be able to play the game, have a good time, and then finish the game. And if they want to keep grinding, they can keep grinding just because it's fun, getting more and more powerful. but they shouldn't be like searching online, spending time out of their day to figure out if there's another way to do it faster because it's taking forever. You know? Have I tried the expansions? I tried back like maybe 2 years ago. I tried them. I don't remember much about them, but I remember I bought them and tried them. I think that was on Xbox, on my Xbox copy. This copy is on Game Pass so that I can continue my progress from my ROG Ally and any other handhelds and stuff. If I do cloud streaming, I can play this and have my save files saved and transferred, which is awesome. But I could never finish the game as I simply don't have the time to grind this hard. Well, yeah, so like I said, I've technically finished the story. I've gone through all those missions. But now I'm in the heavy grind where I'm pushing for the real ending. And now I'm just like going through the motions. Which, frankly, Sandra's, I'm just gonna push up to what I was gonna do. Like, frankly, it's ooh. It's not the worst thing ever. Oh, baby. Ooh, because the Nemesis system really is at its peak. But the whole concept of, like, buying orcs and doing that just doesn't make any sense. Because the whole point is that you're supposed to be going through the motions of gameplay, finding orcs like this, Zuka the Angry, and then analyzing them, talking to them, figuring out what makes them tick, gaining intel, all of that, and building like passive relationships with them, having dynamic stories born out of that gameplay, right? And in this case, like, it just doesn't fulfill that goal. It just directly is in conflict with it. Stabby, stabby. Oh, he's injured. Now he's enraged. Oh, baby. If he's ranged, he probably can't be damaged. Oh, no, he can. Oh, that's the back of his bow. Or his quiver. I keep tapping B to dodge, man. That's not even what it is. So I meant to do that. Now we can see what happens. So he kills me, and then he's going to get promoted. He's going to go up in level. So he was level 30. He's going to go to like 44. Gains a new title, levels up, and now he's on the board right there. So now I'm like, well, screw him. I want to go hunt him down. So I'm going to chase him down. Did they get him? Executing. Booyah. The deranged succeeded. He levels up to 40. New unknown captains take over. Ooh, baby. So then there's all this that just kind of fills in. So now I mark him as my target and I start to seek him out because I want to get revenge. And if he kills me again, we build that relationship even further. And if I kill him, he has the chance to escape. And so he might be able to do that. He also has the chance to be spared by me. I could do that if I wanted to continue building a relationship with him. There's also roles that the game does to try and determine whether like an orc in question is more interesting to you. So they have like I don't know what you call it, an engagement score, I guess, where it just calculates how often and frequently you've been interacting with them, even down to like looking in the menus and stuff. And if they find that you're particularly interested and invested in this orc, they will give him skills so that he can escape, so that he can do better and hopefully not die, so that you can continue engaging with him further, which is just really cool. There's a ton of crazy systems at play here, like a ton of really, really cool stuff. But so many people never got to see it or experience it simply because the game was, for one, undermined by the monetization, and the press surrounding it was so negative, a lot of people just didn't even bother trying. Maybe an Arkham-style Batman game with a Nemesis system. Yeah, back in the day, I said one of the things I thought could do really well was like a Suicide Squad game, style game, where like you have those dynamic sort of mini heroes or mini villains that are generated and you can build relationships with. So I thought that could work. A Batman game where you're fighting up and coming mini heroes or mini villains rather that are trying to get a start. That could be really interesting. Night pops up. And now we're going to go try to get revenge. Man, filth. Seriously, there's so much here. Frankly, like, you can build out... Oh, he led me into an ambush. That's funny. Oh, God. We cleared him out quick. Zuka Lucky Shot. So he got a new title. And then I'll claim him. He's too high level, so I don't think I'll be able to actually do much. So I'll just shame him. Down to 36, but now he has been taught a lesson. Then you can see that XP is paying out up top, but it is like so aggressively. Ooh. It's so aggressively painful to level up in this, like to get Talion from 36 to 37. Takes like an hour and a half, it feels like. 2 hours maybe even. It's just way more than it should be. Nemesis system is S tier. I wish it was in more games. Well, what they did is they filed a patent for it. So they went in. Can I just do this? No, I can't. So the Nemesis system patent, and they legally protected it. So if, say, Ubisoft were to do a game where they had a system like this, and they call it like the I hate you system, whatever they call it, and it was even close to the Nemesis system, they could be sued for breach of patent protection and violation of the patent. And they're just screwed. Like, so nobody's really wanted to touch it. At this point, it's unclear what Warner Brothers would do if a studio attempted to implement a Nemesis style system in the future, given similar systems have already been added to major franchises like Assassin's Creed. What they're referencing there is that mercenary mode. If you guys remember that, they in like Odyssey, they had all those mercenaries you could chase down, and I don't think those are quite the same. Like the Nemesis system was way more elaborate than that. Let's see. Challenges, Web of Fate. We've got a handful of these. Have you seen the UFOs hearing? Yeah, I saw that. It's like, fast travel's not available. Of course it's not. Then how do I go to there? But yeah, I saw that. Last I heard, it was like there was one guy that said he believed that the government was in possession of alien bodies and extraterrestrial technology, which is like kind of crazy, but also like it's a guy. And that claim is so crazy extreme. I kind of want to know, like, I want more than that. I need a little bit more than like a guy said a thing. He has like credentials. He's not just a nobody, but I would kind of like to know from some other people. Defend the fortress. Let's do it. You know, like, I just don't know if that's enough. True melee missions, fort attack and defense did anything in terms of XP, but I think that's why Shadow Wars post-true ending is grind, because you've exhausted those options. Yeah. Well, and this particular save on the Xbox Cloud that I have here, I've like bounced in and out of every once in a while over the last handful of years, because I mainly played back like, oh.
Me and this Scar have been waiting a long time.
Oh, this is one that cheated death. Well, that's fun. Attack from above. Dude, he's pretty good. Oh, he's fireproof. That's great. Yeah, the source is trust me, bro.
I will have my revenge next time.
Next time, makes sense. Oh, now he can resist those. Dude, if this guy gets away and continues leveling up, I'm screwed. Because he's got a lot of perks. There we go.
You think you're better than us? You enjoyed the kill, don't you?
Ooh. Dude, these finishers were so smooth. Man. Okay, and we got the Ranger's armor. Level 39, yes please. Shiver me timbers. But yeah, I would love to buy into the UFO hearing stuff. But I just... multi-decade UFO hearing. Like, at this point, I'm sure they've got some stuff that they're not sharing. Like, that wouldn't shock me at all. Why is this doing this? The bar is, like, glitching out. Let's see. Retired Major David Grush's highly anticipated testimony before House Oversight Subcommittee was Congress's latest foray into the world of unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is the official term the U.S. government uses instead of UFOs. While the study of mysterious aircraft and objects often evokes talk of aliens and little green men, Democrats and Republicans in recent years have pushed for more research and national security measures due to concerns that sightings observed by pilots, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Grush said that he was asked in 2019 by the head of the government's task force on UAPs to identify all highly classified programs relating to the task force's mission. At the time, Grush was detailed to the National Reconnaissance Office, the agency that operates U.S. spy satellites. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program to which I was denied access. Like, if that guy couldn't get access, that's like, there's no way we're going to get access. And I think that's the point with like the congressional hearings, is that they want to be able to look at this stuff and to have people like that actually like be able to see what they need to see. Vengeful drain, retaliation drains her attacker. Burst of might, gainful might on perfect last chance. Haven't unlocked that one yet. Wraith will drain its target. Wraith will brutalize targets. I don't know. All these are kind of reduces. Let's do that. Okay. Drinner, what's my screensaver? It's just, hold on. I don't need you, Logitech. It's just the Hogwarts Legacy one. I think it looks cool. I don't know. All of the UFO stuff. Oh, this one was. Did you guys see this? Okay, this one, we don't do political stuff, but this was like actually kind of funny and weird. Like he's just talking. Like, look at this.
It's been good bipartisan cooperation.
Just watch this.
And a string of
Okay, Mitch? Anything else you want to say, or should we just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Let's go back.
Go ahead, John.
I'll take it back. Let's go back to you.
Go ahead, John.
Like, that was uncomfortable. Like, that was so long. And it's like this guy came up and is like, you want to go back to your office? Gonna go back to your office?
Do you want to say anything else to the press?
Like, that was an aggressively long time. And his response makes me think this is not the first time this has happened. Like, that was a
string of
from like 22 seconds to 50 seconds roughly. It's like a solid 30 seconds of just standing there.
Okay, Mitch? Anything else you want to say, or should
He like grabs his arm like pretty forcefully. And then he grabs his arm, she grabs his arm. I don't know, man. He apparently had like a fainting spell or something. Yeah, a McConnell aide said he felt lightheaded and stepped away. Oh, they did him dirty with this picture though. This hold on, look at this. This picture, they did him dirty with this picture. I just like, with all of this, like, I don't care where you land politically, but I'm like, if grandpa is acting weird and can't stand up straight or finish sentences, maybe don't force him to go and keep working. You know, like if my grandpa were like that and he was still trying to work and do stuff, especially if he was like a multimillionaire and could easily retire, I'd be like, Grandpa, stop it. Sit down. Like, it's so just nasty that people still like are pushing their family members to do this stuff for the political clout. Like, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, who gives a crap? Like, just let Grandpa go to bed. Eat some pudding, play Scrabble, live out the end of his life. Oh man. Had Roswell flashbacks. Yeah, kind of. It seemed like it. Really seemed like it. So all of these guys are like super low level. This is one of the things, like if you don't resolve these attacks frequently enough, you just have a bunch of these fortresses that are surrounded by super low level orcs, so there's no challenge. Come on, jump it. There you go. He just wants to play Bejeweled. Yeah, exactly. Agreed. I don't care what his beliefs are. If you're glitching out in mid-sentence, you shouldn't be leading a Taco Bell, let alone a country. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm kind of hoping we go into a phase in the next handful of years where it becomes regularized to elect like 40-somethings again. Like, if you're going to make policies and laws in 2023, I think you should know, like, how to run a Twitter account. I think you should know what iPhone releases this fall. Like, the basic stuff of existing, you know? Oh, God. Dude, these guys are so under-leveled. But like, what can I even do? I just have to like upgrade them, or I have to grind this out. I can do stone walls, metal walls, iron gates, poisonous spouts, fire spouts. Like this, honestly, this is one of those games where there's so much potential here, but they just made it so grindy. It's like not even fun at that point. Yeah, I guess I've just got to grind it out more before I take this on. Jesus. But it is what it is, tubes.
That's most definitely what's up.
Politicians need to be way more in touch than the current ones. Well, I think the easiest thing is term limits. You just set it so like you serve in the Senate for a max of 2 terms. 12 years, you're done. House of Representatives, maybe like 3 terms, so you can stay in it for 6 years, and then if you want to move to the Senate, okay. Like, but the thing is, so many people, so many of these guys, like, they go to the House, they work there for 6 to 8 years, and then they move and they start working in the Senate. And so they work in the Senate for a minute, and then they shift. Is there one closer? Jesus. So like they work in the Senate then. So when all is said and done, they've been in like Congress, in the House or the Senate for like 20, 30 years. And like, even with those term limits, you could theoretically be in the House for 6 years and then move to the Senate for 12. So you're already there for almost 20 years. And I don't think that's what anybody wants. So do you make it so you can only serve in the House or the Senate and then you have to leave? What does that look like? You know, it just, the whole system's kind of screwy. And the assumption, like the system was built back when people like mostly died when they were in their 50s. So nobody back in the day was really thinking you'd have some of these people in office until they're like 95. But that's also part of it, is I'm like, who is supporting grandma or grandpa being in that position for that long. Like, they can't enjoy it at that point. They don't even know what's going on. Maybe they just love, like, the respect it gets and the reputation it comes with. Because people do treat you like a rock star if you are a representative or a politician for their group. I mean, I have family members that talk about some recent politicians, let's just say, in a very in an uncomfortably positive light, saying like, oh, he was sent here by God. Like, well, I mean, is that why he like cheated on his wives? You know, like, how does that make much sense? So this is one of the other things that's kind of conflicting. I'm almost like better served, in some cases, intentionally dying to these orcs so that they jump 10 plus levels at a time, so that I can then go in and recruit them, because that'll actually save me time in the long run over just like recruiting them and then assigning them to missions and stuff, you know? That seems broken. I don't know what your side is, but if you make important decisions knowing you'll die in the next 10 years, you should retire. I'm just like, even personally, frankly, if I'm like, hey, I've got 10 years left, even like, especially some of these people, they have to know, like, they're within 5 years. Like, some of these people are scary, sick. And if I'm like, you know what, I'm in the heyday of my life, I'm a multimillionaire, I'm respected, I have a big family, I've got a huge house, I have a legacy because I did a bunch of stuff, I'm good. I just want to go fishing, or I want to go and live on a lake, driving my little boat around. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Just do that. But it's like they get caught up in the high of being a politician.
Taking back Minas Morgul, bringing about that big eye that's always watching us. I liked Mordor the way it was before you messed it all up.
I don't even mind if they take a break in between. Yeah, I think that's a solid middle ground. Oh yeah, that's nice and fast. Oh, I love that. Luke, when you get burnt out or like don't want to work, what do you do to motivate yourself back? I know a detour, it's just something I have been struggling with. I don't know what I just pressed. Crap. I mean, it's a very good question. It's something everybody struggles with, so you are certainly not alone. I think I think one of the keys is to have a varied set of hobbies and things. So getting burnt out on work, the unfortunate reality is a lot of work you can't really help getting burnt out on, like beyond taking a vacation when you can, but a lot of people don't have the luxury of taking vacations like beyond a week. When I worked at Best Buy, it was like, oh, I have vacation time. But it was like, I couldn't afford to take a vacation time because it was like, they would pay you pennies on the dollar. So I could try to use sick days, but then they would fire you if they found that you were using sick days for vacation time, you know? So I think it's a very tricky problem. As for like a broader balance, I think it's just important to have a handful of different things that interest you that you can participate in. And ooh, lovely. So for like me, I've recently gotten into Warhammer. So people were asking me on stream like a week ago. They were like, what have you been playing? And I was like, well, I've been playing this and that game, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, one of the things I've been having the most fun with is just building Warhammer stuff. Like You assemble the little bugger, and then you paint him, and then you fight. I know this is Age of Sigmar, but he can be played in 40k. It's complicated. But like building my army, painting it, we've been having a really good time with it. Like it's a new hobby of mine. It's a new interest, and it's still nerdy. It's still geeky, but it's different enough from the video game stuff that, frankly, like the last month or so, the main channel hasn't been doing well. We always expect that. July is always stupid slow, so videos just don't do well. And I think it's because most gamers are also kind of burnt out in July, so everybody's kind of taking a break. So that's part of it. But for me, I'm like, when my stuff isn't doing well or isn't doing as well as I would like, I feel burnt out. I like shut down. And I think that's very normal, but that's why you got to have something else that you can engage with to shake it up and realize like it's okay if you take a little bit of time to figure out what you want to do or what you want to specialize in. This guy is super badass. I love his armor. Just look at that. Oh. What is this vacation time you speak of? Sounds nice. Yeah, no, exactly. Nikki and I are very fortunate now to be in a spot where like I can work on some videos ahead of time and we can get them out. There's certain times of the year it doesn't really work. Such as peak times. But did he start the fight broken? Oh no, it's because he's being executed.
This is Mordor, you miserable globs. Are you broke Mordor's first rule? Show no weakness. You maggot! You interrupt the wheels of justice, and no justice will be.
I'm recruiting him. His armor
you
is so
get.
sick.
I've got tricks you've never seen.
Oh, he don't give a crap about that. Oh god. Yes, I'm playing this on like the whatever difficulty. It's like the hardest difficulty, but it also like it doesn't nerf your damage. It's gonna kill me. Oh yeah, baby. Oh baby, that was sick. He saved me. Oh wow. See, that's one thing you gotta love from the Nemesis system. That kind of thing wouldn't normally happen. Isn't that great? Anyway. Yeah, the Armor Core gameplay. Yeah, we checked it out earlier in the stream, actually. And vented about, like, toxic people. No way he just killed me. As I run away. He did. As I'm running away. Mug.
Your body is a vast library of elixirs and tonics that I will use to fuel the Dark Lord's army.
Okay, Mug. Well played, Mug. See, now he goes to level 44. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm probably better served if I want to grind these people up. I'm probably better served just letting them kill me, am I not? Like, wouldn't that just be better? But it's super annoying because, like, he goes up to level 44, I'm level 37. So if I want to recruit him, I have to defeat him once, shame him down to, like, level 34, and then I can recruit him and then assign him to do stuff to level him up. It's just, like, a super roundabout way of doing it. Can you just go and like kill one of these guys? No. Okay. Anyway. Politicians are fixated on legacy. They want to pass things that outlive them, especially if it's Byzantine and impressive. They're always looking for the long-term legacy. Yeah, and I think it's just like when you're in a spot where everybody knows who you are, everybody kind of has to respect you and treat you like faux royalty because you're powerful and you could make their career or break their career, that probably is like a high that you don't want to give up on, you know? Like I can understand that kind of human desire. I still think you should be noble enough to hand over the keys to somebody else. Where is it? Somewhere. Oh. Okay. There we go. Sorry if you have already answered this, but what drew you back to play this older game? Well, I'm going to be doing a video on it, and I want to always give it a fair shake, so not just pop in, because the video is only going to be like 20 minutes long, you know. The video can't be anything too crazy. Okay. So that's part of it, is I want to give it a fair shot. However, more than anything, it's just an interest. Like, this is a game that is really good. It's a solid game. It's just that it was built out in a way where it was based entirely around the wrong things, and it was monetized based on stuff that like actively undermined the core gameplay system. It would be like, you know, Bethesda being like, okay, Starfield, everybody loves flying their ships in space, but in order to do that, you have to have space fuel, rocket fuel, and the only way you can get rocket fuel is either by traveling to this really inconvenient place way off in the corner of the map, and it takes you a ton of time to do, and it's very grindy and annoying, or you can pay $10 for the unlimited gas pass, and it gives you access to the gas you need to travel to those parts of the galaxy that you want to travel to. Everybody would be like, screw you, man. Like, you just made like the coolest part of your game a chore for everybody else. Like, that's just not cool. Like, if you're not spending money, the game's not fun. How is that? How does that work? But they do it all the time. Like, this company did it with this game, and they did it with Battlefront 2, and Diablo 4. People were worried they were doing it. I don't think they've done that yet, but there's concerns that they are. They just broke the game in other ways, so it's just a lot. Man, hearing this XP grind is turning me off from the game. Sad to hear how bad they made it in a game because of greed. Well, and let me be clear, like, I've said this before, grind is not an inherently bad thing. If you have a game system that's really awesome, you can introduce grind, and that's not necessarily bad. Like, if you could probably say that something like repetitive actions in an ARPG is grind, because you're grinding up your abilities and grinding better rolls for weapons and things. And for some games, that grind is the gameplay system. Like, that is how the game works. Like Diablo, that's a big part of it. People run and do that. Or Monster Hunter, people grind multiple fights over and over and over again because they want to try and get gems that they need or stuff for crafting that they need. And that is almost like in and of itself a gameplay system. The grind is part of it, and it's a good thing. And in this case, the grind here is like enjoyable, it's fun, but it is just incredibly samey over and over and over again. You're going to be doing the same basic thing, which I think is where grind is particularly offensive to the senses.
We skip right to the execution.
The Nemesis system is a throwback to when the gaming industry was still trying to innovate. Yeah, it really is, like, purified. It really is tremendous. Like, as a gameplay system, there haven't been a lot of other instances of the industry doing something this novel that also is so crazy interesting and fun. Oh, come on. Like, more than anything, I just need to recruit these guys.
Haven't seen you since I was a lowly grunt.
Ooh,
A lot of time
ook-book.
has passed. Let us reunite.
It's like lines like that are really fun because it's like, oh, so was this guy a grunt when I was going and taking on one of the other orcs that was higher up, and then he was like on the a side, like basically a sidekick for that guy. Like, it's just super cool. But man, patent it and then do nothing with it. My hope is that they might be doing something with the Nemesis system. They're actually, and I'm not making this up. Sorry, sorry, Mitch. There's Nemesis system Harry Potter. There were rumors. Let me see. Let's see. The job listing mentions how Warner Brother Games studios, mainly Rocksteady, Avalanche, and Monolith, have, quote, unique technical advantages thanks to different systems. We're looking for someone to take these strategic systems and join them together with Unreal Engine 5 to build a framework for the next generation of DC Universe games, for Harry Potter Universe games, and for Lego and Mortal Kombat games. Basically, like, they describe the Nemesis system, and then they have job listings quoting DC games, Harry Potter, Lego, and Mortal Kombat. So people are wondering if they're going to introduce like the Nemesis system into a Mortal Kombat game, which at this point, that's still probably a handful of releases away, or Harry Potter game or whatever else. So it might not have died where we thought it did. How are they going to apply it to the Mortal Kombat game? I think it would just be basically like in a campaign or maybe a Nemesis mode, you would fight randomly generated people in a Mortal Kombat game as opponents, and then they would have different abilities, different skills, different moves that they could do, and then they adapt to your play. Like, it could be interesting. I think it's better served in an open world game like this where you're exposed to a lot of NPCs constantly. So maybe the Wonder Woman game we'd see it, but even then, like, there's so much potential here. It's just heartbreaking we haven't seen it yet. The Harry Potter game is the one where I'm like, I really don't know what that would look like. Nemesis system in a Harry Potter game. I guess you're fighting rival wizards and then that happens, I guess. By the way, Luke, did you see CDPR laid off about 100 people? I did see that. Let me see if I can find it. CDPR lays off 100 employees. So they announced they're laying off about 9% of its staff, about 100 people. According to the company, this is part of restructuring plans surrounding its new titles. They've laid off employees 3 times this year. They added that the employees will be staying through the first quarter of 2024, so they have plenty of time. The company previously laid off several employees who worked on the soon-to-be defunct Witcher card game Gwent, as well as 29 employees at Molasses Flood, which is working on a multiplayer title. Yeah, I mean, basically, this in no way shocks me. A lot of companies are laying people off right now, and frankly, it's just because a lot of these companies built extra studios, hired extra people with really cheap debt because rates were so low. Like, I don't think people understand when interest rates were at like 2%, interest was lower than inflation in a lot of cases. Like, that's so stupid. I can't even begin to describe it. Like, it would lose more money to keep your money in a savings account than to get a loan. Like, that's ridiculous. That is insane. Technically, taking out a loan, your money is gaining value compared to putting it in a savings account. It doesn't make any sense at all, but that's just how low interest rates work. It's stupid. It kind of breaks your brain. But that meant that a lot of these huge companies could go and spend millions and millions and millions of dollars expanding teams because the debt was so freaking cheap. And now that that debt is more expensive, it doesn't make sense anymore. The math doesn't add up. So they can't keep that staff that high. It just doesn't work anymore. Which is unfortunate for those people that were hired, but in no way is it surprising. I think it's weird because they have a lot of projects being developed right now. No shot all of them see the light of day. I mean, even if they don't, it's just a matter of like they hired too many people and they can't pay for them. It doesn't make sense anymore. And there's also parts and considerations like where were they hired to? Marketing teams, for example, getting cut is not like that surprising. If they're expecting a downturn in the economy, they probably don't want a huge marketing team that they're not going to use. If ChatGPT comes out and does the work of 5 marketing guys in one computer, like they'll just use ChatGPT, because why wouldn't they? There's just a lot of other pieces to this puzzle. Real quick, guys, I'm gonna run to the bathroom because the protein shake and the Red Bull are hitting my system at the same time. So I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Just hold the fort, and I'll be back in a second. Okay. Chat about something fun. I don't know. I want to come back and see chat and be like, what the hell did you guys talk about? Okay, I'll be back. Oh man, This is 100% a 2. Wowzers, did Luke have anything else the Red Bull has protein based? Way too long for number 1. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you go up and you're expecting just like a quick trip to the office, and then you get caught into a conference room and you're stuck there for longer. So it happens, dude. It happens. It's the protein shake, dude, for real. This thing wrecked me. It's turned my insides into jelly. I don't know what to tell you. I've been cleaning and the orc breathing in my ear through the headphones is unsettling. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I bet. Oh, no. Get it off. There we go. I'm loving this quick takeover. But yeah, I mean, going back to the friggin' CDPR thing, it's just kind of frustrating. Command, stay and fight formation, stay and fight. Sure. Like, I can say something like, oh, I am fully aware that this makes sense in the context of the business. I think that they ran out of money and they had to downsize because they expanded too much when rates were low. I get it. It makes sense. And people hear that and they go, oh, so you want companies to fire employees. Like, that's not what I said. I wish everybody could keep every job they've ever had and get paid tons. But to pretend as though there are not some employees that shouldn't get paid or shouldn't be kept on is silly. Like, there are some employees who frankly are just not as productive as others. So corporations, of course, want more productive employees. It's really not that complicated. And if an employee is no longer making money for a company, of course they're going to get downsized. Like, it's not necessarily always their fault that they're not making money for their company. Okay, dude, can you leave? You're going to die. Sometimes, you know, there's a couple of other pieces to the puzzle. Like being hired into a team that was never going to actually do much of anything useful for that company. Like we've seen with so many games that get canceled. It's like, it's not the employee's fault that the game got canceled. They just did their job. But because the executive screwed up, they suffer, you know? It just sucks, dude, to hear this kind of news. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, I wish that they wouldn't have overhired. It's super annoying that companies do this all the time. They overexpand because they treat workers just like little worker bees and they don't really care too much about what happens to them in the grand scheme of things. And I just think it's a bummer because the employees didn't do anything wrong. They did their job. They showed up. They got hired. You know, they did what they were supposed to do. But they suffer as a result of just casually overexpanding. It's frustrating they made so much money off of a game that was 60% of what it was promised. Which, this you mean? Or Cyberpunk you mean? All of these are really, like, even Jedi Survivor, which launched really broken and messed up, made a ton of money. Even that one just like printed money. It was outrageous. Okay, we need to hire more guys. He's level 24, so I'm going to assign him to ambush him. And then this guy, I'm going to assign him to ambush. No way he can take him on. Him. And then I'm going to go help. Okay. They at least made sure to offer everyone a comprehensive severance package and gave them notice a few months prior. That's better than most companies. Exactly. Exactly. Well, and with so much of this, I'm always like, so what's the, like, what are you asking them to do? Because so many of these people will just get like super upset that anybody's being laid off. I'm like, I understand that. But at the same time, like, this is the one I'm tracking, right? Yeah. I understand that, but if a team of employees is not generating revenue for a company if they're just sitting on their hands doing nothing? Are you asking that the company keep them employed? Like, how does that make sense? Like, if I had people I was working with that were cutting together TikToks for me, and I hired them and I was paying them decently well to do it, but frankly, their work was really crappy. Like, a lot of them, oh, this is the tough guy. Oh, geez. Frankly, a lot of them were just unusable, like laughably unusable. So I would just end up deleting them. So it was wasting my money. Like, I was just burning cash that I didn't want to burn. So I fired that team. And some people might look at that and be like, oh, so Luke's so mean. He fired some people in a tough economic situation. I'm like, I understand that. But I hired them to do a job. They didn't do the job. So I no longer paid them to do that job. Because it's just a distinction. Like, are you being hired as like a charity case for a company to just throw you money to exist? Or are you being paid in return for you completing a service? And if you're no longer completing that service, whether that's your fault or not, I understand why a company or a business is like, it just doesn't make sense for us to keep throwing money at you when we don't get anything for it, you know? Yeah, it's just frustrating. But, you know, inevitably people will boil it down to the most simplistic thing possible. So what you're saying is,
if you see a man fight dirty, they certainly will. Look at those lazy globs. Don't they realise Mordor is a dangerous place? Hey, Glob! Now you're what we like to call unlucky.
yeah, this is not going to go well. It's level 24. Oh, there's another.
You can tell by the look in his eye. He's wondering how there will be enough for you to
Oh, it's the front guy? Are there two there?
It seems you do possess some
This
elixir
turned like
of life.
pure
And it
chaos.
seems I will have to open you up again for exploration, for science.
For science! Poison proof, hates when Azran's grog maker is here, or near. He's a slayer, face it head on, powers, okay. Yeah, my orcs are gonna get pummeled, yeah, for real. Such is life, they will find somewhere else that's a better fit for them. Yeah, that's definitely the attitude you have to have. Oh my god, dude, there's like 5 or 6 here.
I'll listen to you rattle. Can't keep up with me. Try standing here, you. Can't hurt me.
Don't go there. Go over here.
No.
He's retreating. Okay, well, I mean, it's something. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Gee whiz, dude. Yeah, they said the main reason was that they were simply overstaffed and didn't have a job for them to do next year. Exactly. Like, and that happens. Like, if they hired a team that was pretty expansive when money was cheap, and then, you know, time goes by and all of a sudden they can't afford it. Oh, dude, he's level 49. Oh, my God. Oh, this is the grog maker guy.
Some cannot take. Grog stronger than them. They drink and die by morning. But that night, their
I like this guy. This guy's funny. Have you guys ever had grog, by the way? It's pretty dreadful. Oh no, did I down myself? Oh my god. Oh dude, there's no way. 2 finishers and I barely touched him. Oh, I got a sniper up there. Maybe if I can get away, recoup some health. Jump. Oh my god, dude. Oh, I wish there was like a quick dodge for those.
I said thank you for dying.
Push crimp got me. Rest in PP. Rest in PP. What is grog? Grog? Like whatever you think it is, it's probably not. Because it's just kind of gross. It's like watered down rum, and usually like kind of gross cheap rum. So like the origin, during the early modern period, sailors required significant quantities of fresh water on extended voyages. Since desalinating seawater was not practical, fresh water was taken aboard in casks, but quickly developed algae and became slimy. Stagnant water was then sweetened with beer or wine to make it palatable, which involved more casks and was subject to spoilage. As longer voyages became more common, the storage of sailors' substantial daily ration of water plus beer or wine became a problem. So, following England's conquest of Jamaica in 1655, 1/2 of an imperial pint of rum gradually replaced beer and brandy as the drink of choice. So it was like how they preserved water on long voyages was by putting rum in it, and then that made grog. So grog is just like super watered down rum. And it doesn't spoil because it's alcoholic, but that's where like the meme of really drunk pirates comes from, because they kind of were. Like it was the only way they could keep their water clean. So, yeah. Yeah. You thought it was just a fictional orc beverage? No, it's a real thing. Like if you ever want it, just like you can look up a recipe, but usually it's like equal parts water and rum, or sometimes three parts water, 1 part rum. But it doesn't work, dude. It doesn't work. The grog maker. If I can shame him, I think that'd be good. If I can get him, he's level 37, so maybe I recruit him and then have him jump this guy with me, and then he'll jump to like level 40 something. I think that's what I do. Or maybe I assign him here. I'll like assign both of them to jump him. I think that's the play. Hey Luke, so glad to see you're giving Shadow of War another go. I recently got the platinum for it. Also, RIP, we've all been there dealing with 6 captains and underleveled. LMAO, cheers from Quebec. Cheers, my friend. Thank you. M&A. Thank you. And yeah, we're kind of digging ourselves out of a hole, because all of these guys, all the captains, the warlord, everybody, they're all like in their 20s, and we need them up in the 30 to 40 range. So we are digging ourselves out. And I'm going to have these 2 guys jump him. And I'm going to go help. And then from there, we're going to go try to take on the grog maker. I'm going to try that. Wow, so that's where, yeah. This game is more panning on the user's end, or padding, than the devs did when making Valhalla. Yeah, it's like, again, it's such a conflicting thing for me, because I really do like the gameplay here. But normally when you're playing a game, like you do X, Y, and Z, and then there's another thing that rewards you for doing all of that you can use to progress and move on. Yeah, level 49. I could take him on myself, but I just don't know. I think if I can get these guys involved after I get Mug, I think that will be a better way of doing it. Yeah. And like, you can just move. The kind of frustrating thing with it is if you want to just not plan at all, Rocky, like you can play it and you can just like turn your brain off and, oh God, and go through the motions. Jesus! This is the tough thing with playing on like the hardest difficulty, is that you just get pimp slapped with 2 attacks. And I'm dead. Like, okay. Well, there you go. Now he levels up. Pug.
Meat ready to be butchered.
You see what I mean? Like, if I want to just get level 40 orcs, I might as well just let them kill me. Right? Oh no, did they jump him while I wasn't there? Oh, that's going to be a problem if they did. Project Zomboid? That sounds familiar. Maybe. Yeah, you can go in without planning. Proceeds to die instantly. Yeah, exactly. Level 41. Now I can't recruit him again. I have to shame him. Mother bitches. Mother bitches. And like the difficulty options you can choose. So like brutal is enemy are as fast, intelligent, and lethal as on Gravewalker, but your damage is greatly increased. Might and Wraith meters fill faster, allowing you to use more special moves. You have at least one chance by default. Or you have one last chance by default. So it's this hardest difficulty, but they don't nerf your damage, which is nice. Nemesis, put your skills to the test. Orcs are smarter and more adaptive, requiring careful consideration of each enemy's weaknesses. Death is guaranteed. Normal, standard, they will not succumb to you easily, but are likely to experience everything that the Nemesis system has to offer. Ooh, I just got a key for a game for review. That's cool. And easy is just like, I don't think you're gonna see everything the game has to offer. But like if we go to normal, just to like show you the difference, let me just let somebody punch me. Like, I'll just let an orc slap me around. After I gain intel. After I gain intel. Death threat. I'll get intel on this guy because I think that'll help. Vulnerable to stealth. Okay, that's good. Can I know what game it is? Oh, for review? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's probably not like on the tippy top of your list of like, ooh, is this happening? Is this coming? Hit me. Okay, 1 hit. 2 hit.
How'd you like that, talk? Show me what you've got. Filthy glove.
3 hits.
I'll kill you.
'They're so much less aggressive. 4 hits. So I'm probably taking 4 or 5 by the time I'm dead. And then that heals so much. Jeez, dude. I like the gay orcs. I get a team of them. You do you, man. Also, oh, you know what? This is one of those moments of like intrusive curiosity. I kind of want to know in this context, how does like there's no good way to frame this. In Lord of the Rings, how do orcs reproduce? Because you never see female orcs. Let's see. The Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien does not explicitly explain how orcs reproduce. However, some passages suggest that they are bred in some manner. In the Silmarillion, sorry, with this font, they all look like L's. Silmarillion, it is suggested that the first orcs were corrupted and twisted elves, taken and transformed by Morgoth, originally a great and powerful being named Melkor. He was later named Morgoth, the black enemy, after his fall into darkness. There are other instances where it is suggested orcs breed in a manner similar to the other children of Ilúvatar, elves and men. In the Two Towers, it's mentioned that Sauron has been crossbreeding orcs and men to create the Uruk-hai, which suggests that orcs and men can interbreed. Oh God. Which by extension, that orcs may reproduce sexually. It is also noteworthy that in both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, we encounter references to orc women and orc children, which again suggests more traditional methods of reproduction. In Peter Jackson's film adaptation of Lord of the Rings, more monstrous and industrial interpretation of orcish reproduction is shown, with orcs being birthed from mud. I remember that in the films, but I wasn't sure if that was canonical or anything. This, however, is not a concept that is explicitly confirmed in Tolkien's writings. In summary, the exact nature of orcish reproduction is not conclusively detailed by Tolkien, and as such, it remains a subject of debate among fans and scholars. Is that something you needed to know? Is that something anybody needed to know? Can you go into this without knowing anything about Lord of the Rings? Yeah, no, honestly, like, I think if you watch the films, for example, you probably will appreciate a little bit more. Because you'll see little references, little tidbits. In Shadow of Mordor, for example, you know, you'll meet a recognizable character, we'll just say. So there's reason, I think, to expose yourself to the franchise, but I don't think you need to. Like, frankly, if you play this and you think the world seems interesting, then you can go watch the films and you'll appreciate this all the more. Like, no need to overcomplicate it, you know? It's doing nothing to them. They're singing. The Wandering Village. Will I play this? I have not actually seen this. It's super cute though. Did we see this at like Summer Game Fest? It looks vaguely familiar. I guess I just have to shame him, reduce him down. You like that? Sure don't. It's a super cute chill game which you can play while you just want to chill. I do love games for chilling. I thought I was going crazy. Like my ROG Ally kept glitching out and games would think I was playing on like controller or keyboard when I wasn't. And it just drove me absolutely crazy, up the wall. And then finally I realized that in a secondary menu on that thing, you can dig down and find settings to tweak the BIOS and update the BIOS. And so when I did that, all of those problems went away. It started operating really nicely. I had done a couple of BIOS updates when I first got it, but I hadn't seen or been prompted for any updates in a month. And so, fun fact, when you update your technology, it tends to perform better. Isn't that great? I know Tolkien died long ago, so who decides if new Lord of the Ring works are canon or not? Who decides what is canonical now that Tolkien is dead? So I don't know how to spell Tolkien. It's I-E-N. Okay. And canonical, there's only one N. Oh, good to know. After J.R. Tolkien's death, his son Christopher Tolkien assumed the role of managing his father's literary estate. Christopher edited and published much of J.R. Tolkien's posthumous work, including the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, and the 12-volume The History of Middle-earth series. However, Christopher Tolkien passed away in January of 2020. The Tolkien estate, now managed by a board that includes other members of the Tolkien family, is now responsible for managing his works and legacy. Yeah, it's important to note that while Tolkien estate manages or maintains control over the original works, adaptations like Peter Jackson's movies or various video games often have creative liberties under the specific licensing agreements. Consequently, there can be divergencies between these. Interesting. So it could be like down to the estate, but at this point, it's such a huge thing, Tolkien lore like this, that probably there is not like any singular person or group. It's sort of like a team effort as to whether people agree. What's here? Seriously need help with BIOS updates. I'm terrified. I'm going to absolutely wreck my setup if I mess up. Help. Do I follow? Did you follow a tutorial? Are you talking about specifically on the ROG Ally or with your PC? Because PC BIOS updates, they're really not bad. I usually wait like a couple of weeks after the BIOS update is released to do it, just because you never know. Sometimes there's been a couple of instances with like, oh, that's gotta be him. I think it was Asus, wasn't it? There was like a scandal where they released a BIOS update that actually ended up kind of causing problems. So they had to backtrack it real quick. Like it turned a bunch of motherboards into potatoes, I think. So that can occasionally happen, but it's really, really rare. And not the common thing. But if you follow just like a basic tutorial, it's really simple. You'll download the BIOS onto like a thumb drive. You turn off your computer. You plug the thumb drive into your computer. And then you power the computer on by like while holding down F10 or F2 or whatever the button is that the tutorial will tell you for your motherboard. And then it does its thing. Like it's really honestly pretty easy. Some motherboards have support in the BIOS. If you just smack like the delete and F11 keys while booting up, it'll take you to the BIOS menu and then they can download it themselves. That's really rare, I think, only on like really high-end motherboards, but it's not that bad. It's true if you do it wrong, it can just like brick your whole motherboard, but it's hard to do it wrong if you're following a guide, frankly. In the same way, like you can technically very easily burn down your house using your oven. It would be shockingly easy, right? But as long as you like don't put paper towels on top of the burner, as long as you turn the burners off when you're done using them, stuff like that, you're gonna be fine. It's just you have to follow basic precautions. But as long as you do that, you'll be okay. Drinner, thank you, my friend. Seriously need help. Oh, I just read that. Can you tell my brain's fried? Thank you for the $5, my friend. Luke, do you uninstall any games? I'm sometimes. I have like a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD I keep everything on, so it's not super common because I just don't normally need to.
What we have here, a game of chance. Odds have been laid, though we can't see them yet. Only way to see what comes up is to play the game. So let's play.
Did I watch Rings of Power? I did not.
Why are you wasting meat?
Oh, it's him.
It took time and skill to butcher that. Here, let me show you how it's done.
He's back. I'm gonna draw him over here and blow this up. He's back. Oh no, he's retreating. Oh no, I tried to dodge with B again. Yeah, you can freeze them. Oh, I love it. You can shoot their foot. Oh no, don't. That's not what I wanted to do. Oops. Level down to 21. Now he's like actually useless to me. This guy ran away last time too, coward. Yeah. They have little personalities. I'll give them that. So back down to 36. Okay. Now I'll go back to what I was doing. You see what I mean? It's kind of annoying that they kill you, they will jump to a higher power level than you. So then you have to go in and defeat them once again. So you've taken them on now twice. And then you have to shame them down. And once you've done that, then you can fight them a third time. And technically you should be able to recruit them. But it's just like step after step after step after step. You know, it's just a lot. And I mean, as long as the game is fun, who cares, right? Like, oh no, woe is me, I have to keep playing the game. But when the game is already so grindy, it's just kind of annoying. Mrs. Wife just texted me. Oh, she made cookies and Lockie got a cookie and he's very happy. Fresh off his nap. Got his cookie. He's feeling good. What a good little booger. What a good fella. Oh my goodness. Games like these just make me feel sad. I mean, it's always tricky critiquing something like this because on the one hand, it feels stupid because I'm like, this sucks. I have to play more of the game, more of the video game, and that blows. And that feels like a stupid complaint to have. But it's specifically when the content that you have to repeat is extremely tedious. That's where it stops being fun. And that's where the criticism comes in. That's when you have a problem with it. There he is. He's down to 21. He's terrified of Grogs. Or Graugs. Okay. Well, I just wanted to recruit him, and I accidentally shamed him. That was a bit of an oopsie. Oh, he's got the hand burn. Isn't that great?
I'll cut your tongue off before you speak your foul words.
I didn't think that was stealth. I was just jumping on top of him. He knew I was here.
No, no, no.
He's retreating again. Okay, recruit.
Swear loyalty, Orc. Combining efforts is a wise choice.
I'm at a point in my life when I remember these releases, it makes me remember how much time has passed. Kind of depressing sometimes. You're not wrong. Like, it is crazy to think that this is going on 6 years old. That is a little like ridiculous. So I agree with you. That's a little jarring, I think. Pit fight. To fight to the death in the pit. Survival will increase his level. Do it. They both run away all the time. It was honestly still a fun game. The power fantasy, raising an orc army and sieging castles was dope as hell. Plus I love Alistair Duncan and her Alice Cellenbor. He just nailed that performance. Yeah, it's this really is one of the most conflicting games I can think of. Like, it's just filled with a lot of really good stuff and then also filled with a bunch of garbage. Let's see, where to next? Execution. Enemy captain is executing one of his warriors. I guess let's go there. But you see, this is most of the game. Like, this is most of it, where we're just going kind of from thing to thing to thing, and you just flip your brain off. And
Okay. Look.
Oh.
Look at what your wicked
Cheated death.
devilry has done to me. You have to die, so that no more Uruks will face the same fate.
I have a whole squad, bruh. Oh no, the camera's kind of glitching. Oh god.
Now you kill me. It wasn't enough just to pollute my
Oh, God.
body with your filthy elf devilry.
I want to capture him though. I don't want to kill him. So I had to fail that intentionally? I mean, first of all, that's badass, but I had to fail it if I wanted to do that? Okay. It's a bummer. Level 34, but it's gold. Down 5, 50% increased damage dealt by Orc allies versus 65 undead. Okay, yeah, I think this is better. Well, that's not really what I wanted to do. Oh well. Good thing there will just be another. There always is. Yeah, that or GTA 5 came out 10 years ago. Yeah, it came out 10 years ago. Or what was the other one? Like, even The Witcher 3 at this point is going on 8 years old. Right? Like, that's ridiculous. Or... like, I remember Assassin's Creed 3. I was so excited for AC3. And that was, like, 11 years ago. That's stupid. Yeah, the pandemic really messed with my perception of time. Things before don't seem as far away as they actually are. Yeah, it really is weird. It, like, froze time, but then it also felt like it lasted forever. But, like, I've caught myself a handful of times where I'm like, yeah, it was, like, probably last year. And it's like, no, that was before the pandemic. That was, like, 3 years ago. Like, I did a musical fall of 2019. And it was the last theater thing I did. Well, I mean that I'm good. Those do apparently pay out pretty good XP though. But like when I think about it, I think like, oh, that was recent. That was like last year. That wasn't that far back. But then you realize, no, that was a while back. It's been a minute. Do I have to go all the way over there to get to it? I think I do. Damn it. Arkham Knight. Yeah, Arkham Knight is also 2015. So that's also like 8 years old. That's crazy. So Luke, what could be added to this game to make it really great? For one, I think they need to... like, they have a broad approach where they focus on quick encounters. So some orcs you'll fight, kill within 5 minutes of meeting them or seeing them for the first time. And that's because they just want to kind of flex at how many are here. But I'm also frustrated by that because it feels like it's kind of rare to have... I don't know. It feels like most of your time is stuff like this. It's just taking down waves and waves of grunts. And it's true, sometimes they can take you out, which is annoying. But that's, you know, that's part of the game. I forgot to turn the difficulty back up. Oops. But like that's part of it. I think playing on a harder difficulty can balance a lot of this because you will die more frequently. And that's actually one of the key mechanics in the game is to be killed so that orcs level up, orcs become more powerful, and you can build those relationships with them. So weirdly, you have to, in some cases, like to progress faster, you have to die intentionally, which feels weird. It doesn't seem like that's how that should be. It seems like if your game has set it up so that you have to die in order to progress at a reasonable level, something's gone wrong. So like, how do you fix that? It probably is just a ground up redesign of the XP and progression system. Because again, the whole system was seemingly balanced around you having loot boxes to progress faster, to get XP boosts and to do all of this, which is just annoying. The main story, I don't personally like how it's structured and set up, but it's not the end of the world. And as for like the rest of the game, it's again not bad, but it really does just feel like one of those games that was built around a couple of cool ideas and then the monetization scheme. And the only way you can really fix it is by starting from scratch, like going back to the drawing board.
This ain't right. You're the one who's supposed to be down here.
Many try to scale the tower.
Gash the tower.
Everyone falls.
Dude, he's badass. That's cool. Not really what I meant to do, but okay.
You claim to have toppled the tower, Ranger. But behold, now I wear his armor. And the tower rises again with an Uruk inside.
Interesting. Did I see Black Panther game has a character creator? I did not see that. Oh, he's enraged by burning. That's funny. That's kind of surprising. So are you not playing as a Black Panther? Jesus, dude. Oh, and he's immune to execution. And he's a vault breaker. He knows all my tricks. Okay, he finally died. Oh, God. This guy's gonna be a living nightmare, I can already tell. Oh, and that doesn't even stun him. Oh, God. Yeah, this guy, I can tell, is going to be like my arch nemesis. This guy has like every perk to go against every common attack. Oh, my God. Jesus. A lot of superhero games coming out lately. Spider-Man 2, Iron Man, Wolverine, Wonder Woman, Black Panther. I think they're really trying to figure out what the next big cash grab is going to be. Because right now, there's just kind of a glut in the movie side of things. There haven't been a lot of solid movies that have generated, I think, the revenue that they were hoping for. Yeah, he's an epic. Yeah, I believe it. Dude, he is going to be such a headache. Man, at this point, level 55, I'm not touching him for a minute. Wowza canowza. Like, what do I even do now? I was going to get Mug recruited, and then I was going to go after the Grog Maker. So I think that's what we have to go back to. Okay. We're about to hit a massive content drought with the ongoing strikes too. Yeah, that's going to be a big push for. I mean, I don't know if you remember the last big strike in like 2008, 2009, but every TV show you watched, maybe it was even, I think it was even earlier than that actually. It was probably like 2006 or 7, I think. But like all major TV shows going on around that time, all of a sudden started sucking. And it's because all the writers quit and went on strike. And so the networks went and like, I don't know if they negotiated or settled. I was little, I was a kid at the time. But all I know is that out of nowhere, all of the shows we liked started sucking. None of the plots were resolved properly. There were like 1 or 2 seasons in a row that were just dreadful. And it was because they lost all their writers. And like Lost was one of those where the original writers kind of had a plan for where all of this stuff was going with the Dharma Initiative and all these other kind of plot lines they set up. And then when they left after the strikes, or during the strikes, I guess, the whole thing just fell apart. Like they replaced it with a team that didn't know what the original plan was, so there wasn't any sort of finesse or detail to it. It just wasn't good. And so with this strike, I fully expect like every show to start sucking. Which, I mean, already I'm not that into, like, I don't watch much TV, so like I'll watch the new like season of Futurama. I'll do that. That looks awesome. We got Breaking Bad though, greatest of all time. Yeah, my understanding though is that's because like the showrunner, the original guy, Greg, oh crap, what's his name? The guy that made Breaking Bad. Shoot, what's his name? You gotta help me out. I'm blanking. He was like the guy that, oh, not what I meant to do, that came up with the story. He like supervised the whole thing from start to finish. He really knew his stuff, and he was the brains behind the operation, and he had the story in his head from the beginning. So even if they fired a bunch of his supporting writers or his supporting writers left, he still was going to be there and supervise it. So I don't think that Breaking Bad was ever in that much danger. Vince Gilligan, that's right. What did I say? Eric or Greg? I think I said Greg. That's not him. He is not Greg. Come on. Peek out just a little more. Not him. Oh. Lost was an absolute mess. The fact that they managed to make it work at the end was a miracle. I don't know if they even got it working. It was kind of a wreck even at the end, even after. Oh, come on. I hit Y. Because like they ended it in a Catholic church that was also filled with a bunch of like Buddhist imagery. And so like that didn't make any sense. It was so LA, you know, like that was my bigger problem with it, is it was just so transparently like a bunch of LA people trying to be like, oh, he did a double. Now he's gonna move up a level, and then I'm gonna have to shame him again. This poor guy's been shamed like 3 times in a row. The show was never in danger. It was the danger. Like, am I just misremembering the ending? Yeah, like, so they have like Buddhist statues in the background, and it's like they set this whole thing up so it was like heavily suggested that they were in purgatory the whole time. And like everybody was still alive, and then the dog comes and it's like, what? Okay. Then his dad walks out like the big white doors. Just like no part of it made sense. And he was the whole time his dad's like, you gotta move on, Jack. You gotta move on. And they're like, what, move on to what? Like, I've been trapped on an island for years. Or at this point, I think he's been back. The whole thing just didn't make any damn sense. But they didn't know what else to do. And like Lost is one of those shows that started so good. So good. Like, I really feel for the people that never got to experience Lost when it was at its peak, when it was like the big deal. It was everywhere, and it was all anybody could think about or talk about. It was huge. And then it just freaking died because the writers started to fall apart. Season 4 came along and was just a confusing mess. Season 3 really was the peak, and they set up all of these cliffhangers, and then they lost their writers, and then season 4 and season 5 were just like, what are we doing? What even is happening? Because Lost, the whole show, it was really fascinating. Like, the whole show was based around a very large cast of characters, and they each had pretty complex stories. So like if you think about I don't know, each of their stories are intersecting and interweaving. So maybe we do like this, where they like interact with each other here and there, and some of them interact with everybody else's. And so each one of these lines is somebody's story of their life, and then it interweaves with other people that would eventually be with them on the plane on the island, and then it's all like coming together. And what they would do for an episode is they would go in and they'd be like, okay, we're gonna go right here and we're gonna look at this chunk of time. We're gonna take this splice focusing on, let's say, these two characters that interact with each other. And then they go over here and they're like, okay, and then this episode, we're looking at these stories that intersected here. And then this episode, we're looking over here at this intersection right here. And it was really, really interesting because you would have flashbacks where you have the story on the island happening. And then the whole time, the character that the episode's about has flashbacks to the previous, something previous in their life that defined them or made them who they are, got them where they were. And usually almost every single time it was at a moment like this, at this splice, where they intersected with somebody else. So all of the character stories were intertwined. And they did a really good job of focusing on these interactions. And it was fascinating because you're like, oh my God, this web of characters interacting with each other is so complex. It was tremendous. And then it just didn't go past that. Like it just, they set all this up. They shared everybody's backstories. And then there was like nothing else to do. So in season 4, they started doing a flash sideways, which was the whole joke. Well, they did flash forwards. So the joke was that, oh, they did flashbacks. So then they started doing flash forwards where they basically show them after they got off the island. And they haven't shown you how they get off the island yet, but they got off the island because they're doing a flash forward where they're back in their normal lives. And so you're like, oh, so it's a flash forward. Makes sense. And then in like season 5, they just started doing flash sideways. Where like straight up, they just started doing this thing where it's an alternative reality. So they're like, what if they never crashed? And I'm just like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care. The whole show is about being lost and trapped on this island. And now it's just a show about people in flash forwards, flashbacks, flash sideways. So you never know what's real or what's going on. It just totally lost the plot. Literally. Like they just, like their gimmick had run out, and instead of ending the show when the gimmick lost its potency, they just kept going and tried to add a new gimmick that didn't work at all. Yeah, the smoke monster was there from the pilot. Yeah. Those sounds it used to make. Oh man. I'll see you in another life, brother. Yeah, Desmond was great. Dude, that season 2 opening, I think it was, where he's doing, I think he was doing crunches and it's just doing his like daily routine, and then it's revealed he's in the vault. Oh man. That show, again, I cannot stress enough just how huge that show was back when it was at the peak. It was everywhere. It's all anybody talks about. Even if you go back and you watch old episodes of The Office, Dwight references it a handful of times. Dwight's like, you remember, they're walking down to the warehouse for the first time in like season 2, and Dwight turns to the camera and goes, you remember in Lost when they met the others? Like it was everywhere. It really is a pop culture staple. I think if you watched it now, maybe it still has some of the mystique because enough time has passed that you probably are not familiar with like too many spoilers or anything. Other than that, it's just super awesome. A lot of people just say watch seasons 1 through 3 and then you're good. Once you get past that, it starts to fall apart. So you're going to be frustrated that they never explain much of this. Like, you just never learn much. But frankly, they never really explain it. So you're not missing out on much. Have I watched Doctor Who at all? You'd love 2005 through 2017. I have not. That's one of those, like, you remember we talk about the whole thing with like intimidation of having like Final Fantasy 16. A lot of people see the 16 and get turned off because they're like, I don't know if I want to jump into 16 of these things. For me, that's what Doctor Who is. Doctor Who, I understand you can watch them in a vacuum, but I'm like, I'm biting out of a pie that is so huge. If I love it, I'm going to have to consume the whole pie, and I don't know if I would survive, frankly. It was my fear with Warhammer. Like, I didn't want to get into Warhammer because I knew if I liked it, I would go balls deep, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever recover from that. I decided to just take a nibble, a little bite of the cookie, and now I'm scarfing down the whole thing, and everybody's suffering. I also love the season 3 finale. We have to go back. or we have to back Kate. Yeah, well, and then the whole thing when they introduced, I think Ben was in wasn't he in season 3? Or did he come in season 4? His first appearance was season 2, episode 14. So he came in season 2. Yeah. Oh, man. Now I want to go watch Lost again. It was so good, dude. Yeah, he didn't actually get like his story explained until season 3, I think. That's when they started showing a lot more stuff with Dharma. The Dharma Initiative. But I remember like the cliffhanger that they left it on when they find out that Ben wasn't who he said he was and he had stolen like somebody's identity from the crash. Like it blew everybody's minds. I still remember sitting on the couch when that was revealed, and he just kind of looks at Jack and his kind of scared smile fades, and it was like game on. And then the whole show, like the episode ended and that was the cliffhanger. It was so good. Oh yeah, he went by like Ethan or something. Yeah. You're a Whovian in the making. Oh, James, again, I don't know if I don't know if I'd survive. I don't know. Too much nerding out. Anyway. Everybody, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. This has been a very good time. I have to go up and prep dinner and stuff for Babe and Mrs. and little Ori. So I'm going to go do that. Go check out the new video we posted today. It's on Remnant 2. I tried it. Actually very, very good. If you've been interested in that game, go check it out. Last like week or so, videos haven't really been going out to sub boxes for whatever reason. So if you go check that out, like the video, whatever, share it. I would appreciate that. That's awesome. But all of you guys are tremendous. I love you dearly. Thanks for hanging out with me. We will be back on Friday. I'm going to try to do a members only stream tomorrow as well. So shout out to members. And yeah, I'll just look forward to seeing you then. Much love. Thanks for chilling. Hugs and kisses. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Mwah. Was that too intimate? Sorry.